All right, everybody, Joshua Smith here. It is that time, so we are going to dive in. I got so much to cover today, and I'm sure you're probably going to have a lot of questions, so I want to just jam right into it. So we're going to talk about several different things today. We're going to talk about what 90% of success is, right, in the real estate world and any business. I want to go deep in on that for a few minutes. Then I want to talk a little bit about lead generation, just some recaps there. And then the next few sessions, we're going to go really deep in lead gen. And then I know a lot of you have been requesting some REO short sale tips, tricks, training, where to go, what to do. And I want to make sure that we cap on that and dive into that. So with that being said, like I said, we got a lot to cover today, so let's just get started. Any questions that you guys have, just like always, I'm going to answer those at the end, and we'll get rolling here. So what kills, right now, like what kills more dreams than anything else in every aspect of life? Like what kills it? And it doesn't matter if it's business or sports or, the guy wanting, finding the dream girl or the girl trying to find, whatever it is, like whatever those dreams are, what kills those more than anything else? 100% it's self-doubt and fear, right? So if we want to go out there and chase our dreams and make our dreams become a reality, you guys, we got to get hardcore at overcoming our internal self-doubt and overcoming these fears. So when I talk about 90% of success is really mental in this game, this is it. So many people know exactly what to be doing to go out there and create the success. They're just not doing what they know they need to be doing to go out there and create the life that they know deep down they truly want, right? And it boils down because they have some internal self-doubt and some internal fear that they can't overcome. So the only way to achieve success is to learn how to become self-confident and overcome those fears, period. Right? Like we've got to learn. What's the opposite of self-doubt? Having self-confidence, right? It's a trained skill. It's so easy to sit there and see, these top, whether it's top producers in real estate or top entrepreneurs in every field, and these guys out there. Like I'll use Grant Cardone, as you guys all know. I'm a fan of his, and he's been a great mentor to me. At one point in his life, he had massive self-doubt. He's 25 years old, checked into drug rehab, had nothing, lost everything, and he thought his life was essentially over. He had to hit that low moment, before he started making some changes. Every uber successful person I've ever met in my life that's been self-made has had to overcome this, right? And it takes a little time, but the cool thing about it is we can train ourselves, we can condition ourselves to be more confident. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Different tactics to do that, different things that I've learned to do with this, and different things that I've learned from, a lot of my coaches and mentors over the year with this. So again, we can talk strategy all day long. We can talk sales all day long. We can talk about all this stuff all day long, but it becomes irrelevant until we get to work on ourselves, increasing again our self-confidence and overcoming those fears. So how to overcome these? So I'm going to go through some points with you guys that, again, have been massively effective for me. This isn't stuff that I made up, or this is just from me being a student of the game, from great mentors that I've had, like Grant Cardone, Darren Hardy over the years, and other mentors out there that I've been blessed to work with, and all the literature that I'm always reading, right? And these are the things that I have found that have impacted me the most with these, and this is what I train my teammates on the hardest. Because, we all deal with the same, and so did I. Like I was just speaking in Virginia Beach, at an event there, and they asked all the guest speakers. There was a Q&A session at the end, and they're like, what was the hardest thing when you first started out, the hardest thing for you to overcome? And for me, dude, what like I wasn't scared to that I didn't know the contract. Like none of those, things were concerns for me. I'm an introvert, dude. Like, or I shouldn't say today I'm an introvert. Naturally, I'm an introvert, right? I had to self-train and self-teach myself to become an extrovert. And I truly believe that leopards can change their spots, right? It can just happen. Like you can be a chameleon. I had to self-teach myself to become an extrovert. With that. And that was the hardest thing. Going up to a stranger, thinking about small talk was painful for me. Like I didn't know what to do, what to say, and I didn't want to do it. It was awkward. So overcoming those things. Like we all start somewhere. We all start there. And the most uber successful people out there, I'm here to tell you, they have every bit, if not more, self-doubt than all of us have had in our lives. Right? They just made a choice to go to work on themselves to overcome this self-doubt. So the first number one step, you guys, is you must increase your internal self-belief. Right. So this is those limiting beliefs. And you hear that word thrown around all the time. Darren Hardy always says like the thing that hinders success the most. Like if we go out there and we split the atom, like when we go out there, they never thought the atom could be split. They split the atom. He's like, if we dissect it that far, it would be removing limiting beliefs that we have in our mindset. And these limiting beliefs come from just domestication, right? From our teachers, from parents, from friends, whatever it may be. A good friend of mine, actually had him on the podcast as well. He's a real estate agent now. But he has a bad speech impediment, and a teacher in high school was like, "Hey, Steve," and she did it out of in her mind, she was doing it out of love, right? She was doing it out of protection. But she goes to him, she's like, "Hey, you're not going to have the same opportunities as everybody else. You need to prep and plan for this." Like essentially tell him like, "Hey, dude, go get some job working on, IT or computers or doing something where you don't have to deal with the general public and, you don't have to talk for a living." Thank God he didn't listen to that, but that's what happens so often, right? We get these things. Like I remember first year of college before I dropped out, I'm taking like economics and, that's, I think like Boiler Room came out, that movie that year. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to go to Wall Street. I'm going to be a trader. I'm going to make all this money, make all this bank. I'm talking to my parents about it. And my parents, again, out of a place of love, out of a place of protection, were like, well, that's great, but just don't be disappointed, if it doesn't work out that way. Most people never make that kind of money, right? So, and again, they're doing it from a place of protection. So I hopefully wouldn't be crushed or whatever if I didn't realize that potential. But that's just what happens, right? So we've got to increase our internal self-beliefs. When we're born, you're like little kids, so I love hanging out with my little kids, dude, because they got all the confidence in the world. They can do anything. Dress up as superheroes. They can do anything. They can be anything. Like kids are perfect. We screw the kids up, right? So we've got to then understand this, and we got to go to work on our internal self-belief. Well, how do we do that, and what does all that mean? So you got to understand you are worth it, first of all. Again, we all have infinite potential. Every one of you has every much talent as anybody else, is me or anybody else, or more so, right? Everybody has infinite potential. You deserve success. You're worth that success. You have the talent. You just have to choose to do the work. That's it. I had hung out last week with the number one Keller Williams agent in the world. This dude last year did $450 million in commissions, $10 million in real estate, right? Or I'm sorry, $10 million in commissions, $450 million in gross volume sales. That's a big number, dude. That's like unheard of kind of numbers. There's only a few guys ever that I know of that exist in planet on residential sides that have ever done that kind of business, right? So he and I are talking, man, and going through this and what we had to overcome and obstacles that we had to overcome, and because he's a guy that built it all up, and when the market crashed, he lost everything. He had a big national company representing new builders and lost everything, was defeated. And he's like, man, I'm almost 50 years old and I lose everything, and now he's had to rebuild. Now I think he's 58, 59 now. But we're talking about how to overcome that. I'm just sure to tell you, even the top guys on the planet they're absolutely smoking me. We all started there. Everybody starts there, right? So we just got to understand that and know that we can untrain those habits. Because again, we're born perfect. It's that domestication that screws us up. Well, we can then choose to untrain those habits, right? That we have, and untrain those thought processes. So the person making $100,000 a year has no more talent than the person making $50,000 a year, right? They've just increased their internal self-belief. So often people will sit there and say, and I see this all the time on my team, and this is something that I hound my teammates on, because I can coach and teach them strategy all day, but if they don't grasp this, dude, they're never going to hit their goals. So I spend so much time going so deep with them on this stuff. So somebody will tell me, well, Josh, I want to make $100,000 a year. Everybody tells me they want to make $100,000 a year. It's like, or at least on my team, that's where everybody starts, it seems like. Well, deep down, they have this limiting belief that maybe they're only capable of making 50. Maybe they grew up and they only saw their parents making 50. Maybe that's just, deep down, they have some limiting belief about that 100. They have this limiting self-belief that they're only worth 50, and then they wind up there. Like we always wind up where our internal belief is. That's why, and I know it sounds kind of funky and freaky and kooky, but man, I spend time every single day, 20 minutes, usually 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, visualizing and going so deep about what I want to create. Like I'm already in my head, in my subconscious, I am already a liquid billionaire. Right? It doesn't exist here on planet Earth. It doesn't exist in my bank account. I got a lot of years to get there. I'm nowhere close to it. But I know that if I can train my internal self-belief to be there, and then I go to work on those disciplines and on those habits, and I keep that path and stay focused as hell, I'll hit it. I'm 34 years old, man. With technology, maybe we can live to 120. Who knows what that'll look like? But I'll keep grinding until I get, once I get there, then I'll probably try to double that, triple that, keep going. But what I'm saying is we've got to spend time. It all starts with raising that internal self-belief. So that becomes the main goal. We've got to increase your internal self-belief. You always wind up what your true focus is, right? You always are going to wind up where, again, that internal self-belief is. So we've got to increase that. That's the overall goal here. So here's a quick example. Those with a low internal self-belief, and this is, there's Brian Tracy's got an amazing book out there on the psychology of selling, and there's, they back this up with all these psychological studies that they've done with people where they've come up with these stats and these test trials and whatnot. But he's like, okay, so what they did is they went out there and studied people that had a low internal self-belief, but all of a sudden did well for themselves. Like they had a great month, way more than they knew that or believed that they were capable of, right? So what happens with them and what happens with their behavior is they make that big check and then boom, they go out there and blow it. And I have my teammates all the time. Like, it's a young, hungry agent that goes out there and banks some deals, and all of a sudden they're banking some cash, have some money, and then they disappear for 3 weeks, and I finally get a hold of them. Like, man, I was in Vegas and I lost everything. Right now they're broke again. So we when we have low internal self beliefs, we subconsciously end up self sabotaging ourselves with that. Where those with high internal self beliefs, and guys, again, this isn't me just spitting out theory. These are all actual studies that have been done of human behavior from psychologists. So those that have been trained, and not just when I say they've been trained, you can do this all yourself. You don't need to go speak and have somebody do this for you. But those that have trained themselves, they have a higher internal self-belief. When they make more money, when they were tested, let's say for 1 month, and then their belief system was they go into savings mode, right? Because then they know, hey man, that now just increased my internal self-belief. Now in that happened, I know that can be the new standard. In order to get there, I got to be frugal. I was telling the story to my team this morning. I'm like, dude, when I was banking like 200 and 300 grand, man, I was spending money left and right. Like I was, I was just going through it, and now that I make, 5 times that amount of money, I am so damn frugal, and every one of my buddies, or my close friends that are multimillionaires out there, man, they are the most frugal guys that you'll ever meet in their life. They hate spending money, right? And it's because they've trained those thought processes to be there, and they've increased that internal self-belief. So internal self-talk is critical. I know that this is kind of kooky and wacky and whatever, but dude, it just works. You go back, you start reading Napoleon Hill, you start reading on the greats, and what do they all in common? Man, they're big goal setters. They do affirmations. They do these things so they can stay focused and work on themselves. So you need to consistently and consciously pump yourself up. It's like pumping up a basketball, man. You got to keep pumping. So you need to learn to become your greatest cheerleader. So every single morning, now whatever goals that you know that you want, we're going to write down your goals. We've already walked the GSD mode models. Start whether it's you saying them internally to yourself, or if you're saying them out loud. Like my affirmations, I have a tough time saying them out loud because my kids and wife are sleeping when I get up in the morning. Doesn't matter how you do it. But I'm just aligning all of that stuff. So let's say I have a health goal of reaching 6% body fat this year, which is on my vision board right in front of me. So I just sit there and say, hey, I have 6% body fat. I'm a liquid billionaire, right? I have the number one producing real estate team on planet Earth, right? I'm the, whatever those are, dude, I'm going to just repeat those, not saying I want this. Like I'm already like, I am this. This already exists, right? So whatever you want, whatever's on your vision boards, whatever's on your goals, don't say I want that. Like when you're doing these affirmations, man, you already are that, right? So if your goal is to, let's say, do $350,000 this year in gross commissions, I make $350,000 of commissions, right? Like I'm not gonna say I want, I am. And these little things, again, they sound so silly, but it's just pumping up that confidence a little bit more. And it's not gonna be like, okay, man, I'm gonna, here's what happens is, again, and we talk about this a lot, but everybody today is running sprints. We must learn to run marathons. We got to be brilliant at running marathons, right? So people quit. They're like, oh man, I was doing those affirmations for 21 days straight. It just didn't work for me. I'm like, no, man. I mean, what we don't notice is the changes can be so minute. They can be so small that we don't notice day in and day out. But after 5 years of doing this, holy crap, you can't even recognize yourself. So first off, dude, like you got to believe in yourself, because at the end of the day, you can't rely on anybody else to believe in you, right? Like you've got to be your greatest cheerleader. So then number 2, you must master your craft. And that's what 90 Mastery exists for, right? That's why we started this program and continue the Mastery alumni and do everything that we do. So you're mastering your craft. Every uber successful person out there that I've ever met in my life, they are obsessed with mastering their craft. They are the best person in their space at mastering that craft. So the more you focus on mastering your craft, the more self-confidence you're going to have. That's just how it goes, dude. I mean, it would make sense, right? Like when I started getting asked to public speak, like, I mean, I had a lot of them that I sucked at. I sucked for so many years. But the ones I nailed were the ones that I practiced like crazy. I went out there. I mean, I wrote the script. I practiced, did it in front of the mirror, did it, in front of my wife or my kids, just practicing. I go up there, massive self-confidence, and I delivered great. When I didn't practice, when I wasn't prepared, that's when I sucked, right? That's when I had bad experiences. It's the same thing. And you guys know what to master now. I'm not going to pull up the sales funnel in this session because we're going to be seeing that in the next few weeks. And I know you've seen that. At this point, should be ingrained in your subconscious, but you know what to be mastering at this point. Like you don't need to go out there and sell 1,000 homes to have the self-confidence that you can go out there and smoke the dude selling 1,000 homes, right? If you were just practicing and role playing over and over and over. So again, people, the thing that crushes more dreams than anything is fear and doubt. How do we overcome that? Well, we'll overcome that fear the better that we are with it, right? The more confident we are. Not saying that fear still won't exist. We've got to learn to just face our fears. However, you're not going to be as fearful, and then you're not going to have that doubt because you're that much better. So there's a dude out here, a friend of mine, Russell Shaw, that always says, hey man, you got to go on 100 listing presentations to be a great listing agent. And I'm like, dude, I call total bullshit to that. Maybe if you are using those listing presentations as your practice, I'm not going to risk that, dude. I'm not going to go on 100 listing presentations and risk losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, man, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to practice 1,000 times on my own. Just bam, 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 every single night, right? Just going through those presentations, all of that. So then maybe I only have to go on 5 listing presentations to really dial it down. And the only reason I need to go on 5 is maybe because, I need a little bit of those live rebuttals and get used to feeling their energy and doing it live. It's always different doing it role playing. So mastery comes in again when eyeballs are not on us. Right? So always ask yourself, because what I can promise you is there's somebody out there putting in the work. There's somebody out there that's going to do the work. And do you want to be competitive with them? Do you want to go out there and outwork them? Do you want to go out there? There's somebody in your marketplace that's working their ass off. So I always look at this, and I don't know Mark Cuban's exact quote, but he says something like, work every single day like your competition is trying to steal everything from you, right? Because they are, and I'm probably butchering that quote, but it's something along those lines. Just wake up every day like you're starting over, like you're broke again, and just go out there and work and work and work. So I'm going to go out there and grind my 14-hour days, right? Or whatever I got to work. Sometimes more, sometimes less, whatever that looks like. Now I'll go spend time. I'll take a break. I want to see my family every day, so I'll go spend 90 minutes or so with my family and uninterrupted great time with them. But then after that, what am I doing, man? When my competition is kicking up their feet, when my competition's sleeping, when my competition's watching TV, that's when I go hardcore into mastery. I have, like, when my support staff or like my staff for any of my companies, wants additional training. I'm like, cool. Training's on your time though. You ain't training on my dime, right? Like you are here to do your job, right? When you're at home, you focus on mastery to advance your career. You ain't doing that on my dime, right? Like you gotta put in the effort to do that on yours. Because again, the only way that we're going to make more money is to increase the value that we transfer to the marketplace. Go out there, make yourself more valuable to your clients, to your organizations, and you're going to go out there and grow. So we've got to master that craft, you guys. Buyer presentations, listing presentations, sign calls, like all of these things need that practice, multiple hours every single day. I mean, look at sports teams. They spend 60, 70, 80 hours a week, whatever it looks like, on the field, on the court, whatever, to just step on the field or the court for a couple hours. For whatever reason, we get in the professional world and like we just quit practicing. It's like Peyton Manning saying to his coach, "Hey, dude, I'm not practicing anymore. I'm just going to show up." As good as he is, they're going to fire his ass. Well, I guess he's retired now, but you get the point, right? So we want to go out there and master, right? Be focused on mastery. Mastering your craft. And you guys know now what to master, right? So it is proven those with the most self-confidence have a more fulfilled life. They have better relationships, whether it's with their family, with their friends, overall better relationships, and a much higher likability factor. Right? Like you have that self-confidence. I mean, there's a difference between self-confidence and being arrogant, right? Arrogance is a turnoff. Self-confidence, it attracts people. People love that. They love that energy. People have so much negativity in the world. When they see somebody that has that energy, that has that confidence, dude, they just become attracted to that, right? Like I just hired an agent on my team that she's come to 2 of my speaking gigs, right? I've never met her, but she's Facebooked me asking if we could meet for a few minutes, and invited her to my team meeting today. And she's like, never met you before, but man, like she's already like made up her mind that she was coming to my team, right? Without even talking about splits, without talking about anything. And she's just like, man, I just when I hear you speak and I watch, your videos, whatever, she's just like, man, your energy is just off the charts. I just want to be a part of it, right? So that's what happens with that self-confidence. So it's so critical. It's not going to happen overnight. None of this stuff happens overnight. It's a marathon. We just want to keep working on it. And it's just those small wins, dude. Just those small wins. Every night, if you knock out your listing presentation, knock out your buyer presentation every single night. Well, you're not gonna maybe have that full self-confidence day 1, day 5, day 10. Maybe it's day 200. But eventually it's going to come. Every day, though, you just have a little bit of a win, a little bit more self-confidence with that. So mastery again equals certainty and confidence, you guys. And here's the reality of it. And like any of you that have ever taken a debate, when you watch a debate, it's not who's the most right that wins or who's the most accurate. It's always the person that's most certain that wins the debate. So little of what we say gets perceived by the consumer, right? It's how we carry ourselves, how that self-confidence is. It's more how you say it than what you say. Like I could have a stellar listing presentation and the right scripts, but if I go in there and I'm not confident in my abilities, I mean all that comes off on them, dude. Where I can go in there and if I'm very confident, even if I kind of have shitty things to be confident about and tell them, I'm going to get that listing 10 times more than I would vice versa, right? So much of what we say is not what we say, it's how we say it, right? So that's what we want to focus on. So you must go to work on yourself first. For anything to change, you must change first. I know I've shared this story with you guys before, but I'm going to share it again because it's what changed really my life forever. And it was hearing Jim Rohn, one of his, I know it was before YouTube came out, so it was a CD or cassette. A buddy of mine loaned me, a real estate agent at my office at that time. And, I've always been about growth, but I was like, well, I'm going to grow and I'm going to grow my business by grinding. Like I've always been that workhorse. I love work, man. Even when I was in high school and playing sports, I always worked multiple jobs, I love to work, man. Take pride in it. I love it. So, but that was my strategy to go out there and continue growing by just working my ass off. Well, that only takes you so far, right? So I got to a point where, I'm kind of hitting a capacity. I'm not growing the way I want to grow. My business isn't doubling. This was my second year going into my third year in the business. And my first year I did like 280. The next year, did like 3.25. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, why isn't my business doubling? I wanted it to double. And that's when I was introduced to Jim Rohn. And there's that quote out there that the student or the teacher appears when the student's ready. And I'm sure I probably heard these things before, but I wasn't at the point in my life where I was ready to listen and ready to change. Now I was. So it hit me at the right time, at the right place. So Jim Rohn goes out there and says, hey, the amount of money that you're making right now is 100% direct reflection of what the general public sees your value of being. Period. You do not wait for a raise. Like what do most workers do? Oh man, I'm just going to kind of do the minimum, work my 9 to 5, do the minimum to get by. And if I just keep banking years, I'll keep getting my little raise and, develop my 401k and whatever. Well, that's a losing strategy. And now we're seeing corporations just cutting people left and right and whatever, man. I mean, it's like mediocrity is not accepted, right? So we can't do that, right? So then he goes, again, the quickest way to making more money is increase the value then that you transfer to the marketplace. So then he follows that up with the day that your life changes, the day that you learn to work harder on yourself than you do in your job. I'm like, holy crap, man. Again, it just hit me at the right time. I'm like, man, I don't think I've ever read a book cover to cover in my life. I kind of got through high school with, reading the Cliff Notes or whatever that may be. But I never read a full book my whole entire life. So I'm like, well, what am I doing, man? I'm going out there and grind. I'm like, I'm working my ass off. Like I've never let anybody outwork me, right? But then I get home. What am I doing? Man, I'm kicking my feet up, cracking open a beer, cuddling with my wife on the couch, watching the freaking Real World or whatever the hell we were watching back then, 8 years ago or whatever that was. So at that point, though, then I knew, holy crap, man, I got to go to work on myself. So that's when I became an avid reader. I started crushing a book a week, right? Going deep into my mindset, going deep into activities. So then that year, that next 12 months, my business went from roughly 300,000 and some change in gross commissions to 1.3 million. So here's the cool part about it. I didn't change my strategy. It wasn't like I learned some revolutionary lead gen tactic that just transformed my business. I was doing the same crap, dude. I was still doing open houses, still doing expires, still doing the same crap. What changed was the dude showing up, doing the activities. I developed, certain skills by reading, books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, by reading, sales books by Brian Tracy and understanding the art of selling and how I need to communicate with people and the art of persuasion and influence, right? And how to go out there and be better at the things I was already doing. So my business tripled, not because I was spending more money, not because I was doing new things, right? It's because I just got better at them. So again, the day that your life changes is the day that you work on yourself. The more that you work on yourself, the more self-confidence that you're going to have, the less self-doubt you're going to have. And that's the key here, right? More self-confidence, less self-doubt. That will then allow us to overcome those fears. With that. So then set goals and commit them to writing. And all of you right now, if you've been doing the homework, and I know all of you have, you're already here, right? So, but even if you don't review them multiple times a day, like we recommend, just committing them to paper, you're 90% ahead of everybody else, right? So set a goal, internalize it, write it down, internalize it, and you're going to be that much more likely to go out there and create it. So then we got to break that goal down, right? So we got to break that down yearly, monthly, weekly, daily. So I want to break those things down. So, I know if I'm winning or losing every single day. You got to know that, guys. So like I have another boot camp launch starting April 6th. Like I know, so last night, and I do this every single night, spend a few minutes going through all of my numbers. I dissect every single, I spend, I say a few minutes, but it's probably about an hour now dissecting every single number in all my businesses, right? So I know right now I have to spend another $128,000 in Facebook and get 16,000 opt-ins to hit my number, my goal for April 6th. So I didn't sleep last night, guys. Like I'm on I slept 2 or 3 hours the night before. So I've literally been physically awake without my eyes shut, been grinding in the studio in my home office, like not even laying, whatever, since like 3 a.m. 2 days ago. Right. But I'm like, man, that's what I got to do. I got to go out there and hustle hard. And that's not normal for me. Like this is like once, twice a month that I got to go out there and hustle that hard. But those times come, right? Like those things happen. I got to dial those in to make those a reality. The only way that I'm able to get those predictable results Like I don't know if I shared with you guys my financial goals this year, but dude, like my financial goal, my vision board's 2.8 million this year. I'm committed to that. I will do whatever it takes to get there. Of course, that's moral and ethical, without sacrificing my health, sacrificing my relationship with my kids and my wife. Right? So I'll do everything else that it takes. And that means pulling an all-nighter sometimes. Cool, I'm going to do it. I used to pull all-nighters at the freaking bar, right? Party with my buddies and then, whatever. And then all of a sudden you realize it's light outside. So I used to do that when I had different priorities. So now I'm going to still channel that same energy when necessary and needed, because now I have different priorities. So I want to set those goals, but we got to know every day, are we winning or are we losing? But that also then helps with your self-development, right? Because if I'm having obstacles, like just because you're not winning every day doesn't mean that you're not taking action. Maybe you're amongst an obstacle that you can't figure out. That's why you guys are in programs like this. So you can reach out in the group and one of the other boot camp members that maybe has expertise in there and has been able to work it out or do something there. I'm able to chime in. Whatever it is, that's why you're in programs like this, right? But we always got to go out there and figure, okay, what are our goals? What is getting in the way of me accomplishing those goals? Like, what can I learn right now? What skill set can I learn right now, so that I can make sure that these goals are reality? And I'm doing that crap all the time. Like right now, like last night, I'm like, for whatever reason, as I'm scaling up with this, my lead page opt-ins are just getting crushed. Like they used to be like 35%. Now they're like 14%. And I'm like, what the hell's going on, dude? So I just booked 45 minutes. It cost me $1,000 for 45 minutes of a lead page coach who's supposed to be the best in the game. So I got 45 minutes of his time to break this down because I just identified that's a bottleneck. That's where I need some training right now because as I'm scaling up, these numbers are getting shot. So I got to pay attention to this stuff daily, weekly, monthly, yearly to make those become a reality. With that. Okay, so nothing creates more motivation though, you guys, than action. Right? Like get clear on what you want, remove those self-doubts, that internal limiting beliefs. That's just utter BS. It's like that Jordan Belfort picture with Leonardo DiCaprio. I know he's got like his arms out from The Wolf of Wall Street. If you guys ever saw that movie or you see those quotes on Facebook all the time, and he's like, the only thing between you and your goals is that bullshit story you keep telling yourself in your head. And that's so true, dude. Right? Like we just got to get that crap out of there and understand that we have that infinite potential. We are good enough. We are worthy of it. Now let's just get to work at increasing that self confidence and increasing what we know that we are worth, right? That internal self-belief, and then increasing our skill sets and mastering those skill sets. All of those things come into play. So then you got to go out there and take massive action. I don't know anything else. I've never met a self-made millionaire that hasn't worked their ass off. The cool thing about it though is when you do what you love, like it doesn't really feel like work, right? I mean, there's parts of it that are work that are tough, but would you rather do something that working for yourself, something that you somewhat love, right? Have somewhat of passion, even though there's parts of it that are difficult, but working for yourself than working 40 hours at some, factory job or whatever that you freaking despise and hate and just kind of like the rat inside the wheel. So 80-hour work weeks may not sound like fun. But it's a hell of a lot more fun than being broke. And again, I know I've shared all these stories with you guys who are going through the boot camp, but like I'm a dude, that came from nothing, grew up on food stamps, came from nothing, whatever. 6 months before I got in the real estate business or decided to get in the real estate business, I was living in my damn car. I was in a shower, I couldn't afford an apartment, but I could afford a gym membership. So I was showering at the gym and then just living in parking lots in my car. For a brief, like I had nothing, right? But I made that choice, right? So then I went out there and banked some cash. By the time I was 25, I was doing $1 million a year in gross commissions and started doing really, really well for myself. Well, then before I was 30, I lost it all, right? Sometimes my real estate business necessarily crashed. I just started making bad decisions. I wasn't paying attention with my money. I was being loose with my money. I developed spending problems. I invested things in the wrong areas and, I thought I could be an angel investor, just sounded cool. And I figured, oh, well, cause I grew this real estate business. Now I'm an amazing entrepreneur and I can just start throwing money at other businesses I think are a good idea. And not only did I lose it all and go to zero, I went negative $100,000. I lost everything, that took me that time to build and went negative $100,000. Took me 18 months to climb out of that. Right. So I'm just here to tell you, like I've been in both extremes. Being broke sucks. Yeah, working a lot of hours can be tough, but success is so much easier and so much more fun than being broke. Being broke, though, is a choice. We got to understand that, right? We're choosing to not take the action. We're choosing to listen to those limited self beliefs and choosing to be broke. Most Americans, and I'm sure up in Canada as well, right? The stats seem to be about the same. Go to bed every single night stressing about money. They wake up every single day stressing about money, having guilt potentially that they're failing their loved ones. I have teammates that come into me and they do. When you're my teammate, man, there's no hiding. Like I don't let anybody cop out because I tell them like I'm your coach, man. I'm the guy that's going to give you a hug and kick you in the ass in the same meeting. So when they're like, oh man, I'm just struggling and I feel like where I'm not being able to provide for my family, and and they'll come up with all these excuses. I'm like, dude, let's call it what it is. I mean, you can give it an excuse that you won the book, but the reality is you're not committed to providing opportunities for your family. Otherwise, you'd be doing it. Right? Like I'm like what you're doing. If we rewind the clock back to the caveman times, like your family's starving in the cave, you're leaving to go hunting, and you're coming back to the cave with no food. I'm like, you have no business coming back to the cave, bro, without any food. Like, you got to level up and do what you got to do to make this happen. I don't care if you got to work 5 jobs plus someone. Like, you go out there and you do it, right? With this. So, and I've been there, dude. Like when I was in $100,000 of credit card debt, I didn't tell my wife. I didn't even tell her until I got us out of it and started achieving success again. That's kind of the whole fake it till you make it, right? I had to put on a face, even though I had so many sleepless nights and felt like the biggest failure of a husband and a father and whatever. I mean, I just felt like this, just like this I was just crushed, dude. But I refused to quit, man. I just kept pushing. I'm like, dude, I built it once. I'll build it again. Let's rock and roll with this. With that. So I've been there. I've seen that. I know what that pain is, right? And you guys have probably experienced that pain too. So I work 80 hours a week. So then that when I back out the amount of hours I sleep and go to the gym, then man, I got like 50 hours left, man, that I'm able to go out there, do what I love, with zero worry, zero distractions. I can be in the moment. The power's in the now. So I go to bed. Like I don't sleep a lot, as you guys know, but people are always like, oh, you need to sleep more. I'm like, well, I don't know, dude. I mean, I feel amazing. I feel like freaking Superman every single day. Like, I don't know if I need to sleep more. I sleep peacefully, though. I go to bed, my day's planned out. My next day's fully intentional. Like, I know what I'm doing. I've got it set up. But I go to bed knowing that, man, I did everything I possibly could that day to create as many opportunities as I possibly could for my family. I'm financially secure at this point. So I'm not going to bed stressing about money and all that. So, dude, I sleep like I'm out, man. I don't even dream anymore. Right? Like I do. I hit that pillow, my eyes shut, dude, and all of a sudden the alarm's going off and my eyes open, and it feels like it's 30 seconds. Right? But I'm rest rocking and rolling. And again, I don't share this because I expect anybody to go my path. Right? That's what's right for me. It may be wrong for you. Maybe whatever. Like. Nobody can tell you what success is for your life. Only you can define that, right? Like, who the hell am I to tell anybody what they should be doing? But I'm just here to tell you guys from my own journey, putting in that extra work, putting in that extra grind, my life is so much better than when I was working 40 hours and living paycheck to paycheck and broke and not quite sure how we could scrape bills together and, whatever, dude. So much more fulfilling. Okay, so again, I wanted to share that with you guys because that's what stifles so many people. I can't tell you, and it really, dude, it's one of these things where, and you guys know me at this point, and hopefully you can tell from this with this training, but like I truly cared, right? Like I'm doing this, I do everything that I do because, man, I truly, truly, truly care, and I want people to succeed at such a high level, and I see it every single day. Talented people, whether it's coaching clients or some of my best friends or even family members, man, that have all that talent, that have all the potential, dude, but they just won't overcome that self-doubt and those self-fears. They won't choose to make that decision and do the work, and they never get the results. Like, talent doesn't matter, dude. Like if you can't get beyond that, everything else is irrelevant. Again, that's 90% of success. And anybody that's uber successful, when you guys listen to my podcast, man, they all say that same thing, man. You got to control your mind. You got to hang out with the right people. You got to be in that right environment. You got to do your affirmations. You got to goal set at a high level. Got to get clarity on what you want. I mean, there's these commonalities with every single one of them. Another commonality with all of them is they absolutely are passionate about what they do, what they love. I interviewed a dude yesterday, and I'm excited to release a podcast. It'll be up in a few days, but he's a guy that's made millions and millions and millions off of just cold calls. I mean, he lives 3 doors down from Brian Tracy, in San Diego. He's got a house in San Diego, house in Hawaii, house in Colorado, and the dude's doing pretty damn well for himself, right? But we get in there, man, and he's going hardcore with those, those dials and with that. But, he's a guy that's in his 60s, and he's like, dude, I could have retired 20 years ago, right? But I love what I do. Like, I can't think of anything else I want to do. I mean, because I go out there, I work out a little bit, and, I go out there and do some activities and have some fun. But, man, like, this is my love. This is my passion. This is my obsession. Like, I don't want to do anything else. And I don't know about you guys, but that's how I feel about this business. Like, dude, I see myself, and I always joke with my team. I'm like, you guys ain't getting rid of me, dude. I'll be like 95, rolling in here in a walker, being like, what's up, my peeps? Like, here we go. Right? Like I never plan on stopping, right? That's what's cool about it. So, but we got to get there first, because nothing else will follow in any aspect of our lives until we do that. Okay. So, and just real quick to recap on that, just kind of another example of that just popped in my head is, maybe you have a friend or the family member, maybe it's been you that settles for like a bad relationship. Well, there's bad friendships that people that treat you like shit, or a significant other, or whatever that treats you very poorly. Why does that happen? It's because we have these limiting self-doubts. So then we accept, we just go out there and accept less. Even though we know we deep down, if I want more and deserve more, we just accept less because we have those limiting self-doubts. With all of that, man, we got to increase that, bring that up, and then no longer do you tolerate that BS. Okay, so let's jump into lead gen, guys. Okay, so lead generation recap. So the next 3 sessions, not counting today. So just to give you an idea of what this looks like, man, I'm going hardcore. I'm going deep. I'm walking my team through this same journey right now. We're going deep on lead generation and appointment setting, man. Because you guys, at the end of the day, this is your number one most important skill that exists. And I'm not just talking about real estate. It absolutely is for real estate. Like, you can be a crappy at your listing presentations and buyer presentations. You can even have crappy customer service. But if you're brilliant at this, you're still going to do some business. Now I believe in being brilliant in everything that you can control, so then that I can get more business. Sorry, I had to take a drink of water. I literally was at my team meeting for 2 hours, then had a jam right on here. So I've been speaking all day. And I was doing podcasts before that and podcasts after this. So, so my mouth is dry as hell. So anyway, though, that's what creates leverage. So my vice president of sales now, and you guys, I always talk. You guys have heard me talk about Chris Marks quite a bit, and you'll be seeing a lot more of them. We're really getting him dialed in and trained to start helping out a lot with these boot camps and doing some fun, cool stuff. So, and if you come out to the Mastery alumni, of course, you're going to meet the whole team and all of that. But so he comes to me. He meets me. I'm at a speaking gig, and he just is like, all right, man, let me just go try this thing. He was already leaving the business. He already accepted a salary job. He was with another company just your typical experience that exists out there, right? He started coaching with Tom Ferry. He went out there. He did 42 deals his first year, which sounds like a lot. And it is a lot. But what happened is he coaches with Tom Ferry. His coach has him spending like, $6-7 grand a month in just Zillow ads. So he's like, yeah, everybody's like, oh my God, you're doing so much business and won the rookie of the year. He's like, but dude, I'm broke as hell. Like I'm not making any money, dude. I'm spending every penny. And he got to the point where he just went dry. So he went out there, accepted a salary job. Luckily, he came to the speaking gig. So we meet. He decides to join my team after meeting with me. And we identify what his goals are. He's like, dude, in 2 years, I want to be in a position where I go to San Diego. So I'm like, all right, if you do exactly what I tell you to do. Like, I'm going to give you a shovel, bro. I'm going to, put where I want you to start digging, how deep you need to dig. And you just dig every single day until you get there. You will hit that, guaranteed. And he did it, right? He was just at that point in his life where he's ready to listen. Again, the teacher appears when the student's ready, right? and he followed everything to a T. It was, when I said jump, he's just like, how high, right? So, and it didn't take 2 years. In 6 months, he got to the point where he was doing $40,000 a month in commissions after splits. And he was able then to move out to San Diego within 6 months. And then now, like I don't know how many deals he has in escrow right now here in Arizona, and he's not even out here. Right? He's in San Diego on the beach. What he learned and what our focus was focusing on lead gen and appointment setting. I'm like, dude, if you master this, you solve everybody else's problem. You have agents begging you, to take deals from you and pay you 50%. Like they'll be begging you essentially to work for you within your team. So now he's able to go out there and do that and make 10, 15 grand, here a month by just setting appointments, not even being here, be on the beach from his laptop while he's also starting to build out his San Diego team. So this is what creates massive leverage for you. The other thing too, I want to talk to you guys about, which, it's something I don't focus on, but one of the boot camp members, I don't know if you're on here, Don, but Don was in Virginia Beach, lives in Virginia Beach, works at one of my good friends' brokerages there, and of course he's an alumni member here. And he reached out like, hey man, while you're in town, I'd really love to connect with you. Can I maybe pick you up or drop you off at the airport? That way we can have, that 30-minute drive time together, and you got to drive there anyway, whatever. So, we were spending some time together, and he was like, man, what do you think's going to happen to the real estate agent? Is technology going to replace the real estate agent? Right? And the cool thing was, like, two weeks ago, I was on a panel just about that. There's a panel about real estate survival guide, like how to combat technology or whatever. And here's my thing. I'm like, I don't, when I look at that stuff, and when I say this, of course I care. But so like, is the real estate agent going to become obsolete? I don't know. And if it does, I don't want to say I don't care. I've got almost $6 million in my real estate team that I've grown over the years, and it wouldn't be fun to have to walk away from what we built here and what we've done. However, I have so much confidence in my skill set now because I've mastered skills, right? That I can then transfer. It doesn't matter what it is, dude. If you know how to sell, if you're brilliant at sales, you know how to close appointments. You can go sell airplanes. You can go sell. I don't care what you're selling. You will go out there. You're gonna be able to deliver massive value and become a valuable asset to any organization, right? So I'm always looking at how do I keep adding skills to my skill set where, dude, I'm non-replaceable. I mean, this industry may go away. I'll just slide over to the next one, dude. I don't care whatever, man. I'll go out there, just keep grinding. Like, I know because of these abilities that we're able to do this. So if worst case something happens there, mastering the skill set will allow you to transfer anywhere and do anything. But also, it's going to create the most leverage for you in your life. And the reality is, you guys, is if we don't learn to leverage at some point, we are always going to have a capacity. You can only do so much by yourself, right? So I'm always looking to fire myself as soon as I possibly can. I'm doing my time assessments, fire myself as soon as I possibly can, where it's fiscally responsible. And I can hire somebody to do my lowest cost per hour activity and keep firing myself. And those have stepped up. I've got over the years, my first employee might have been $12. Now I have people making $30,000 a month for me. Doing activities because my cost per hour keeps going up. Why does my cost per hour keep going up? Because I spend so much time working on myself. I'm spending hours and hours and hours of self-development on myself. And when people are like, dude, I don't have the time, I'm like, it's a cop-out, dude. When you're driving in the car, your average person drives 12,000 miles a year. It's 300 hours a year, equivalent to 2 semesters of college behind the wheel. Like when you're getting ready, what are you listening to? When you're working out, what are you listening to? When you're in the office, banging out emails and stuff, why don't you stream podcasts and stream that self-development in the back end? Like, we can all do it. We all have the time. We just need to go out there and always be sharpening our axe, right? So by far, again, this is then what creates that leverage, right? Because it's the number one skill that you can do. You're solving problems for the rest of the industry. And we've talked about this a lot in the initial boot camp of the most successful people are the best problem solvers. Like, solve your problems first, right? And then when you show the world, when you show your community or the world or whatever, that you've been able to solve those problems at a high level, people will then come to you to solve their problems. So maybe that starts off with, okay, I'll go out there and, man, I start solving my own problems. I'm closing more deals by myself than it takes people usually 5-6 years to do. They see what I'm doing. They're like, well, what are you doing? I want to be a part of this, right? It evolves into a team, right? We keep growing the team. And then also we get to a point where we start getting a lot of national exposure and become one of the top agents in the world and the country. And then I got agents all over the place reaching out. Hey, Josh, love what you do. Do you offer coaching? Right? And months and months and months of this going on before we eventually like, okay, yeah. And then that evolved into coaching and, all these different things. So wherever you want to take it, you just got to be focused on those skills and that mastery and that leverage. So that's the cool part about it. Again, you guys, when you're solving everybody else's problems, and 97% of real estate agents are good when they're face to face. They're just horrible at setting appointments, lead gen and setting appointments. And it's not because they're horrible. It's because they choose to give into their self-doubt and their limiting beliefs. Rejection is scary. Rejection sucks. People don't like rejection. You got to get out of your comfort zone. So unless we go work on our self-confidence and increasing our limiting beliefs, because then you get to a point where rejection ain't bug you anymore. It's just part of it. Like I it's kind of twisted, but I look forward to rejection. I'm just like, whatever. Like I just got an email before I jumped on. This guy's like, man, quit sending me so many damn emails. It's so annoying. Well, I do. I keep sending that guy emails. He could opt out. I'm not going to opt out for him. With that, right? So what is the most important thing in real estate? And this is any business essentially, outside of increasing your internal beliefs. Like what's the most important thing? The most important thing, hands down, you guys, is sales. Right? So leads are not the problem. They've never been the problem or the issue. It's our inability to convert these leads to appointments. Selling the appointment, that's the issue. Right? And we've got to understand this. We got to grasp this stuff. And that's why we started to spend so much time in the mastery program of spending time on the highest, kind of CEO 30,000 foot up spaces, because most realtors, it's like, okay, well, man, I'm an awesome chef. So I'm a killer chef. So I'm going to go open up a restaurant. Because I'm a killer chef, I'm going to be able to open up and run a stellar restaurant. And then boom, I fail. I was a stellar chef, killer chef. I was a shitty business owner. And same thing in all businesses. Real estate doesn't have a high failure rate, you guys, for business. That's just business, dude. All businesses have, businesses statistically, 80% fell in the first 5 years. Of those that make it between year 5 and year 10, 80% of those fail out then again. So it's just how it goes, right? Because you might be a great realtor, but if you don't master all these other things, your ability to be a great realtor is irrelevant. That's just kind of like the ante to play the game, right? So sales becomes like that. That's it. Like nothing else matters. If you can't sell, nothing else matters. So we got to know what to sell, how to sell. And again, we're going to go a little bit into this today. Today's just kind of a scratch in the surface because I want to spend some time getting into REO and short sales and all of that. But I'm just trying to really set the tone for 2 weeks down the road for our next session with this. So with this though, and this comes again, you guys, with eliminating that self-doubt and those internal beliefs, be proud that you're in sales. So many people, we're just like so many agents, not just agents, but like anybody that's a salesman, like I'm not anybody, but so many, when I'm talking about sales, like they just become ashamed that they're in sales. Like I'm like, dude, be proud of it. Like the world exists today because of salesmen. Like nothing would exist out there if it wasn't for great salesmen. You look at some of the greatest salesmen that have existed. Steve Jobs, he was called a lot of things, but he was never called a great salesman. But the reality is he was the best salesman and best marketer that we've probably seen in the last 100 years. And that's why he was able to create the most wealthy company in planet Earth's existence, right? He didn't know how to write code. He was out there building that crap, right? He was brilliant at marketing and sales. So salespeople, like you've got to go out there and be brilliant at sales. Here's the cool thing about it though. So many people don't want to be, classified in that whole sales category because like, well, I don't want to be that sleazy salesperson. So where does sales start? Being sold on yourself. Right. So when we do those assumptive closes, like we talked about in the listing presentation, when I just fill out the paperwork, for example, and start filling it in. So in order for me to do that and do that effectively, man, I got to be sold on my abilities. How do I get sold on my abilities? Through mastery, right? Knowing that I'm more practiced, more prep, more rehearsed. Knowing I don't need to have the most experience. I don't need to. Be the number one agent in my area. I'll go up against the number one, whatever. And like, I'll go up against that Keller Williams agent, whatever, and give him a run for his money. Like, I mean, he may beat me. I don't know, but, I'm going to have the confidence. I'm going to smoke the cat. Why? Because I have that self-confidence because I've practiced and I've rehearsed. I also know deep down to my core that I don't know if there's anybody else out there that and I'm sure that there is, right? This is just is my own internal beliefs because I've trained myself to have them high. And people call it cocky, whatever. I don't really care. But it's like, look, I know that I'm going to work harder for these clients than anybody else. I know I'm going to put their best interests at hand. I know I'm going to put their needs before my commission check. Like I'm doing them that disservice. So I got to be sold on myself first, right? That all starts there. Like, for example, if you want to start expanding your team, I'll talk to team leaders all the time. Like, oh, well, Josh, I just don't know if I can, feed these people, man. I got to take these agents, and now I'm reliant on giving them leads and kind of feeding them. Well, that's that self-doubt speaking in again. Like, dude, you knew how to do it very well for yourself. Now you just need to be able to go out there and increase that and do that well for others. Like you have it there. It's all that self-doubt that we have that comes up that we've got to learn to eliminate. It starts with being sold on yourself. But again, everything is sales, you guys. So like I'll get a lot of agents that reach out to me that will be like, well, hey man, I want to do the 1-day listing agreement, but I don't know if my broker will allow me. What should I say to them? I'm like, okay, well, now I got to sell my broker on why this is a good idea. I'm selling everybody on my vision. I have my owner and broker, they're business partners. They got 525 agents to worry about, whatever. But I'm like, dude, I'm always selling those guys. Hey, here's my vision. Here's what I'm doing. I need you guys to support. Here's what I want. Whatever. Like I'm always selling them. With that, I'm selling my team, dude. Like my ability to be a great real estate agent has nothing to do with me being a great team leader. Like I got to sell them on getting fired the hell up. Right? Like I got to go out there and get them fired up. And there's so many days, you guys, like today. Right now I'm dragging ass, man. I just had to tell my assistant to go out there and get me a venti, bold Starbucks coffee and tossing some shots of espresso in there because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through the rest of the day, right? But I can't let them see that. Like, if I'm having a bad day or whatever, man, I got to sell them on just being fired up and whatever that is. So everything is sales. Grant Cardone, he's got a great book out there called Sell or Be Sold that you guys should read because he goes really deep in this too. Is again, everything is sales. So Grant Cardone, being the raw cat that he is, he like opens the book with everybody's in sales. If I want to go home tonight and make love to my wife, I got to sell her on why that's a good idea. Right? Like we're all selling whatever it may be with that, right? So don't be afraid of sales. Love the fact that you're in sales. But the cool thing about real estate is it's not like we're talking somebody into buying a watch that they don't know if they really want. That's what I've always loved about real estate because I could never be tied to an industry where I'm selling something that I don't really truly 100% fully believe in. With that stuff, like I wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't feel right. Talking to somebody into buying a car, even though, like from what they're telling me, maybe it's the wrong fit. But if to get what they want, they got to go across the street to the Chevy dealership, and I'm selling Ford. Right? Like I don't want that, and that's what I love about real estate. We don't have to do that. Like I'm never going to talk anybody into buying a house that they don't want. What am I doing? I'm just selling them on my abilities. That I'm the most competent professional to solve their problems and accomplish their real estate goals. So again, you guys be proud of that and be proud of what we do, man. We get to go out there and have massive impacts on lives. Okay, so become a doctor in your real estate business. I know that sounds funky as hell, but this comes back to a podcast interview I did recently with one of the top prospecting phone coaches on the planet. And he's like, look, he goes, what I mean by this, by being a doctor in space, what happens when you go to your doctor? Like, what do they do when they come in there? Like, they're not trying to sell you value on them or, they're not really coming in and, sometimes it may make a little small talk, but what do they jump into right away? When a doctor comes in to see you, they're immediately asking engaging questions to find out what's going on. Like, what are your problems? What are the issues? They want to know what the problems are so then they can help you solve those problems. So if we just learn to be that doctor in our real estate practice, it makes it so much easier because we're able to lead them from a place of contribution. So when we're talking to our people, man, again, we're just selling them on that we're the best agent for them. And we always need to know what we're selling them on, right? So and we go through this funnel all the time in the real estate business, but in the beginning, if it's a lead, it's like a buyer lead. I'm just selling them on the appointment, right? Someone meet me at a house. I know that's what they want. Once I'm face-to-face, I'll sell them on me. with that, but asking those engaging questions, right? Like for example, I think what a doctor would ask, where do you feel the pain? What does it feel like? Whatever. So, thinking about this when it translates to real estate, right? So, well, what's important to you, in your new home, and why is that important to you? I know that's kind of a silly question, a follow-up question, but I want to really understand what your goals are, what your dreams are, what your ideal, not just home, but area, location, needs, wants, goals are, so then that I can serve and support you at the highest level, finding exactly what you want. Because some people be like, oh, well, do they want a 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,500 square foot home with a pool? So they just look all that up. Well, maybe that's not really what matters to them. Like right now in my life, I got 3 little kids, and 2 of them are in elementary school. One's going to be starting elementary school in a couple of years. Way more important to me than the house features is, hey, I want to be very close to a good elementary school, right? High rated, good elementary school. What type of recreation activities are around there? What kind of outdoor activities can we do as a family? What does this look like? What are the crime stats? Like the house to me is like the last damn thing I'm looking. I'm like, dude, I just need enough bedrooms and that, like, that's it. That's just the roof, dude. To me, not that it was always that way, but now certain things supersede that. So, but we have to ask those questions, right? To know what their needs are. And when we ask those great questions, here's the other cool thing about it is you're already selling yourself. When you're asking those right questions, they're like, wow, this person is actually listening. They're actually caring. Everybody in sales, right? They talk over everybody. Just ask engaging questions. Just be interested, not interesting. Ask those engaging questions. Get to know exactly what they want. If they're like, hey, man, we want to be in an A-rated school district, and we ideally would like to be in walking distance from the elementary school. Like, oh, okay, well, great. Yeah, awesome. Well, there's 3 elementary schools in this area that reside in subdivisions that have A ratings. Like when we know that kind of stuff, when we become that much of an expert in our area, which I think we all need to start being very, very quickly, that's how we combat all this technology. Like Zillow can't do that crap. Everybody can go out there and find a home. They don't need you to find a home anymore. What kind of value can you bring to them to sell them on your abilities? Like, again, we're just identifying their problems and selling their problems, right? Just like what a doctor is going to do, identify the problems and see how they can fix it and help us and serve and support us in our medicine, right? Or medical, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're doing in the real estate side. And I think more so than ever, and this is what I keep stressing to my teammates so hard, like more now than ever, I want you guys being like a massive expert in your area. Like, dude, you need to know what the best damn cheeseburger is, like the best damn restaurant in your area. Like, I want to know that stuff. What are the schools? What are the businesses? Where are all the health clubs? What's all the recreation? Like, what are things that people like to do? What are these at? Whatever. So then I can sell that value, again, asking the right questions, identifying what their needs are, what their wants are, maybe any obstacles that they're facing. And then again, all I've got to do is just verbalize that I'm the best person, the most competent person, the most expert in the area to accomplish that. And you really just sell yourself with it, right? Okay. So again, lead gen 101. This is just a recap. A lead is just a human being that in exchange for something of value gave you their contact information and may or may not do business with you. You guys are 7.4 billion people on this planet today, and it's growing pretty damn fast. Right? There's no shortage of leads. It's our shortage of just not following up, not offering enough value, right? Not being intentional. I was shocked the other day. I'm at one of my team meetings, and I'm doing a messaging course, right? Or a messaging training session. At the end, I'm like, okay, how many of you are doing this? Nobody raised their hand. And I'm like, why? Right? I'm like, I'm not trying to be mean here, but like, why aren't you guys doing this? Do you have any questions about it? Do you not know how to do it? And then I'm like, why aren't you doing it? Why? I mean, you tell me you want these goals, so then I just, people usually make emotional decisions. So I'm like, all right, we do vision boards as a team every single year. So I'm like, all right, so here's what I want you to do. If you guys are going to choose to not do any of this work, right? And all this work is the necessary work to accomplish what you put on your vision board, right? My job is to create the roadmap so you can accomplish your yearly vision board. I want you to go remove 90% of the things off your vision board, keep 10% up there. Because on your activity right now, waiting for the lowest hanging fruit, that's all you're going to close. So just decide what you're willing to sacrifice, what you're willing to give up, what dreams you're willing to give up on, and just go do that right now, or choose to do the damn work, right? And again, I get kind of hardcore with my teammates, but I guess I can because they're my teammates. But I do it from a place of serving them, right? I do it from a place of straight up empathy. I'm never picking on them, but it's just kind of painting this picture. There's in sunshine and rainbows, dude, right? So every single day, you must get people that did not know you yesterday to become aware of who you are, what you do for a living, offer them something of value, so that you can get their contact info and follow up. That's it. You're right. So every single day, I just need new human beings to become aware of who I am, offer them something of value, get their information, get them in my database. My database keeps growing. I'm going to keep expanding. How many is based on how many goals you have. Or how many closings that you want. So I know if I want to do 50 deals this year, I gotta have 3 new human beings every single day that I meet and get them into my database offering something of value. That's all that it is. So all lead is an opportunity. And so many agents are like, oh man, these leads suck. I'm like, no, dude, a lead is an opportunity. You're just choosing to be sucky at your approach. That's it. Same thing with open house, whatever. We're just nothing sucks. A lead is a human being. It's an opportunity in your database. Somebody's closing that deal. One cool thing for you guys that are team leaders to do that I always do is when I have a new agent that comes on my team, I give them old recycled leads in the beginning for the first 30 days. They got to call those and a couple things. It revives some of them, but it's a lesson. So when I check in with them, when I sit with them afterward for a coaching session, I'm like, okay, how'd it go? I'm like, oh, it's good. I converted a couple, but man, most of them had already bought a house or sold a house with another real estate agent. So I just tell them, look, I did this because I knew you could set some appointments. Right? I wasn't here to waste your time, but I did this because this is a very, very valuable lesson that I hope you can take to heart and remember this for the rest of your life, the rest of your career. All of those people that you called on were opportunities that our team, somebody within our team, dropped the ball on. And then those people, because we dropped the ball on them, those people went out there and bought and sold with another agent. So right now, you have to make that decision. Are you going to go out there, follow up aggressively, create opportunities for yourself and for your family? Or are you going to choose not to do the work, let these opportunities just fall through the cracks, and let your competition go out there, close those deals, and create opportunities for your family or for their families? Like that's it. That's all that exists. And I'm like, look, man, you got to understand, it's not that people are insensitive and people are mean, but people are busy, right? And people are struggling and whatever. Nobody is worried when they go to bed at night is worried if you're hungry or not. Right? They're not worrying about you and your hunger. It's up to you to worry about you and your hunger and your family's hunger. Nobody cares. Right? And I'm not saying nobody cares like in a bad, I don't have faith in humanity. Dude, they're battling too. 76% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. They're battling too. Like, you've got to go out there and get intentional and serious with this stuff. Leads are just opportunities. It's like every time my phone, when I was selling, every time my phone rang, man, I'm just like, that's $6,000, $6,000 phone call. Maybe I only converted 1 out of 100 of the calls because sometimes we title companies, whatever. But every time it came in, I just trained my mind to look at that. $6,000 opportunity right there. Like, I'm not missing that opportunity. Everything is an opportunity to go out there and create for your business. So always thinking out of the box, right? Every situation you are in, ask how you can create an opportunity. Have a conversation, interrupt them, ask if they're on Facebook, shoot them a Facebook friend request. I had a gal recently reach out to me. She's like, I'm sponsoring my kids' carnival, and I was thinking about doing like branded water bottles and then games for the kids. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't do that. Right? I'm like, people are going to drink the water bottle. They're going to say thank you. They're going to drink the water bottle. They're going to toss it in the trash. They're going to forget about you 2 seconds later. The games, I like the idea of the games because you get the kids involved and kids want to play games. But you need to have something where you have to get their contact information for the kids to play the games. I said, so if I were to do this, and maybe you can afford this, maybe you can't, but here's what I would do. I'd go out there and buy a $500 LED 32-inch Samsung TV or whatever. I would have a raffle. So in order for the kids to play the games, the parents had to register to enter the TV, which they're free LED TV, like hell yeah. So they're going to have to register to win for that. Then once they've registered, their kids handed a ticket as part of the system to go play the game. So then that way I'm getting everybody to register. So I'm always like, if I'm going to be doing something, I'm wasting my time if I'm not getting them to opt into my list. So we talked about this a lot with door knocking. If I just go knock doors, hey, looking to buy or sell, nope. door shuts my face. Maybe 1 out of 100 says yes. Well, what about those other 99? I don't want to waste that, so I'll go out there and I'll go buy $150 Arizona Cardinals tickets, introduce myself, let them know I'm the neighborhood expert, tell them about some of the free updates that I have, and then I'd tell them about the raffle that we're doing for the neighborhood. Hey, we're doing an exclusive raffle just for the neighborhood, just to show our appreciation for all the business that we're able to do in the neighborhood and whatever, right? So we're doing a gift card giveaway April 30th, with 2 tickets to Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, that's not football season, but you get my drift, right? So everything that I'm doing, I'm like, man, if I'm gonna be doing this, it's got to be getting people into my world. That's where it all starts. Then we got to follow up like crazy, as you guys all know, and then we're gonna cover again over the next few weeks with that. So always be thinking, and when I say think out of the box, it's like my expired survey strategy. It kills it for me still to this day. Like it just kills it. Why? Because it's a different approach than everybody else is taking. It doesn't come off salesy. I'm giving them something of value, so they give me their I get their email, I get all their contact info. Same thing with the FISBOs, man. So like the FISBO approach, whether it's the mega open houses or my other FISBO approach, where I go out there and offer to put up the sign for them. I'll provide the phone number, the sign post, professional photography for them. So I'll invest $150 in all of the equipment. Then I retain all those leads. So let's say I get 30 sign calls. I invested $150 to get 30 sign calls. I'll go bang out a couple of deals out of that. So I'm always just, again, thinking of, okay, this is what exists. Here's what they're trying to accomplish. Is there any way for me to create a win-win, right? With these things to go out there and generate leads. And starting next session, we're gonna kind of do a repeat like we did in the boot camp. So going offline lead gen and then online lead gen with some recaps of that and just that successes and repetition. So let me jump into short sales and REOs right now, and then we'll I want to leave some good time for some Q&A for you guys. So right now, I'm prepping hard to jump into short sale and REO. Not that they exist heavily in my marketplace yet, but I'll just tell you what's going on in my market. So I'm always paying attention to the numbers. My activities haven't slowed down yet. So that shows me that the market's not fully like shifting hardcore yet. But I'm paying attention to how many homes are being listed every single month, how many are being sold, what's being retained on the market, and what our months of inventory is. So like right now in Phoenix, there's 10,000 homes being listed every single month, only 5,000 selling. So we're retaining 5,000 homes on the market. It's growing 5,000 homes month by month by month on the marketplace. We are literally growing a month's worth of inventory every single month. A few months ago, we were still in a seller's market. We've transitioned very quickly to a neutral market, and now transitioning very quickly into a buyer's market. So it's just a matter of time. What goes up must come down, and these things happen. I don't know because I get asked all the time, dude, Josh, what do you think? 2 years, man, before the market crash? I don't know, dude. I have no freaking clue. I couldn't tell you, man. That's all speculation. I hate speculating, right? All I know is I'm just paying attention, and I'm going to be prepared for it. Whatever happens, I just pay attention so I can move, shift, shake, and be ready for it. And that's all I'm doing here. Okay, so when we're going after short sales, those of you that haven't done short sales, I know a lot of you have, but there's really 3 parts to a short sale to be successful with this inside your company. So there's, again, these 3 things that must happen. Number 1, you need the internal systems in place. What do I mean by that? Well, you need all the forms, all the documentation, how you're going to be able to submit those to the bank. What does that look like? Who's going to be following up the bank? I mean, if you're an agent, are you going to be the one on the phone all day to the asset managers and, whatever? Like you need to have those internal processes into place. And when I say internal processes, I'm not just talking about submitting them to the bank. As you grow this, if you have 5 short sales, okay, cool. But I'm telling you right now, if you get 50 short sales, because here's what happens, you guys, is these sellers, man, they want to know what's going on. They're stressed. They're stressed to the gills. And they absolutely deserve the right to us, right, to give those updates. But the reality of it is my job to help them accomplish their goals is to be on the phone with the negotiators, not re-listening to their story every day over and over and over, because that's what can happen so quickly. So when I talk about internal systems, I'm going to do like shared Google Drives, where it's updated every single day with the last update. Every single day, go in there, my systems will go in there and just update them, show them how to set up a Google Drive on their phone, so they don't have to call me. I don't want them calling me. I'll call them when I have some good news or need something from them. But then now they're not calling me. They have a place to go to get the information that they're looking for. That's what they want, right? So I want to have those types of systems in place, so I can operate at my highest level. Because, dude, short sales take a long time. You get beat up on commission on them with the banks. So it becomes a volume game, right? The other thing, real quick, too, if you're going to start doing a lot of short sales and trying to get an REO, make sure that you've got your buyer business set up. One of the biggest mistakes, dude, I've made was I got so heavy and deep into short sale and REO. I mean, my peak, dude, with REO is 350 listings, plus I had like another 100 short sale listings. So I had like 450 and probably even close to 500 listings at one point. I mean, we were down to the MLS store buying lock boxes. We couldn't order them fast enough. It was just insane. Got to the point 90% of my business or so was all listings. All those sign calls, all those open house, like we just neglected all of it. Now, a lot of it happened so quickly. Like, dude, I was barely hanging on. I didn't have time to think about it. Now that it's over and I reflected on it, I'm like, holy crap. I probably lost out on $3 or $4 million of potential income. Because we didn't have that buyer team built out. So if I go out there and get 50 short sale listings, the general public doesn't know short sale, so you got to be prepared. Who's going to be answering those 50 sign calls? Right? You can't answer them all. You're dealing with short sales. You're going to have to get more listings. You can't do it. Like, what does that look like? Do not waste those opportunities. So when I have systems in place, okay, let's say I go out there, I have 6 buyers agents. Well, how am I going to regulate then? How am I going to inspect what I expect that they're doing, what they're supposed to be doing? That's why I use systems, right? I use like Callfire, for example. So my signs have a special, like all my short sales will have a special sign on them with a special number. I can transfer that number wherever I want to go. But the cool thing on the back end of it, so to go to my agent's cell, I can see if they answered their phone. I can see how many rings it took. I can see how long the conversation was, and everything's recorded. So I can inspect what I expect and make sure that they're not missing opportunities for them and me. Because you got to get serious with that. Those of you that start hiring people and hiring teammates, dude, it's not just when they're not performing. It's not just that they're choosing to not create opportunities for themselves. Dude, they're stealing from you. That's how it goes. If you're giving them leads and they're not doing the work, it's no different than them going to your bank account and embezzling funds from you, or taking money from your kid's college fund. That's what's happening, right? So I'm going to inspect what I expect. They're either going to make the cut or they're not. It's just how it goes, right? So when I talk about internal systems in place, those are things that need to be set up. Here's the cool thing about this, you guys, is so next week, I'm moving into 2 new office spaces. I got a big new office space in Surprise and then one in Gilbert. Of course, they're like 100 miles away from each other, as big as Phoenix is. But anyway, I got to get moved into those. Once that's done, we get moved into there. I'm masterminding with our leadership team, with inside my team, and we're putting our structure together. So I'm going to share with you guys as I build this out, as I evolve this, and as we start figuring out, because lead generation, when I did this last time was 2007. Maybe a little different today. I didn't do Facebook ads back then, and YouTube. I'm going to be hitting a lot of different things that I didn't back then, trying now. So I'm going to be sharing my whole entire journey with you guys. So hopefully you don't have to reinvent the wheel and can let me be the guinea pig. So I'll share with you what our systems are, what our checklists are, and the cool thing on short sales is those are universal. Of course, you're going to have your state contract, but all the other forms are universal. So you'll be able to use all my exact forms, everything that we do, unless you have something you like better. Because banks are banks. Like I'm doing Wells Fargo, it might be in New York or whatever, right? Okay, so number 2, know how to solve the client's problem and how to verbalize that to them, right? So what's their issue, man? Well, we know that they're underwater for whatever reason, man. Maybe they can afford it. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they're wanting to do a strategic default. I'm just going to ask those engaging questions and see what's going on, right? Just letting them know again that I'm there to serve and support them at the highest level. And identifying what those goals are. So what's the reason that you need to sell? I mean, all those questions, right? With that. So I want to know again why they're wanting to move. And then I need to explain what a short sale is, right? So if they're like, well, I'm $25,000, find out they're $25,000 upside down. Okay, well, do you have the funds? I mean, they need to move. Let's say they're relocating. Okay, do you have the funds to be able to do that? No, absolutely do not, man. Okay, so we got a couple options here. So one option would be to keep the property. Right? Keep the property. We could say put a tenant in there, and a few years down the road, maybe you have more equity in there. I don't know. Right? Or it could just be, I always encourage everybody to just keep all the real estate you ever buy, right? Like keep them in there long term. 40 years, you'll be thanking God every single day that you did. Most people, they can't do that, right? They're in this position, they can't do that. But again, what I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to solve their problems, right? Even though I know that it's probably 90% of the time going to go into a short sale, I want them to understand that I got their best interest at hand, even if it means me not making any money, right? So, okay, step number one, we could try to get a tenant in there. Number two, we could try to do a loan modification with a bank of some sort to get your that principal dialed down, so then that we could sell the house. It's very unlikely that they do that, but we can it might be at least worth reaching out to the bank and saying, and I'll just kind of instruct them on what to say for that. The last option, because you don't have the money to pay for it, is what's called a short sale. In your case, it'd really be a strategic default, because they're not delayed on payments, let's just say, but they have to relocate. This happens. Like I got Luke Air Force Base that's by me, and I get a lot of people at Luke, and they get relocated, and they're $20,000 upside down the house, and they got orders, they got to go. We got to figure this out. So what we can do is what's called a short sale. So I'm just educating them on the process. So that means that the bank takes a short payoff. So just so you know, there's a short sale. There's nothing short about it. I've had short sales that my longest short sale was like 2.5 years. Eventually closed, and I've had my quickest one that was like 48 hours. So they're all over the place. But on average, talking about 6 months, roughly by the time you list it and do whatever. So I'm going to explain that to them, explain how my fees are free, because they're strapped for money. They can't afford anything, right? So I'm going to get that listing, tell them our strategy, tell them why it works, whatever that looks like. Then I need to get leads. Like I need to get short sale leads. How do I get short sale leads? Well, there's a couple things. Most of your title companies are going to have a notice of NODs. I don't think exist anymore because of the RESPA violations, but they're going to have a notice of foreclosure, right? They'll be able to see once the foreclosure filing started. You can dig these up through your tax records too, but your title company will be able to pull that up very quickly. You can get like these daily lists of everybody that just went into the foreclosure process. Every state's different. I don't know what your states are. I know what mine is, right? Here in Arizona, it takes 3 months of being late on a payment for them to start the foreclosure process. Then it's another 3 months before they can physically foreclose on the property. So, once I get that list, I already know they're 3 months behind the payment. Right? So that's one way to go out there and get them. One strategy, now this I haven't tried yet, but a good buddy of mine is just killing it with this, you guys. So this is something that I'm going to be doing very heavily out here. You can go out there and try it, or you can just wait for me to tell you how it goes with it. But I'm going to go to all the big investment groups out here. So like for example, We Buy Ugly Houses. What are those guys doing? Man, they got billboards everywhere. They're doing radio, TV, newspapers. They're buying all these leads. So go reach out to them and be like, hey, look, every lead that you get that you can't do anything with. So maybe it's a traditional seller that wants top dollar and the offer didn't work out. Or if it's a short sale, and they don't want to negotiate a short sale, right? I'm going to go to them, or this is at least my plan, and I'm going to tell them I'll give you $30 for every single seller lead that you give me, complete seller lead, name, phone number, email, all the information, address, accurate information. I'll give you $30 for that lead. So essentially I'm giving them back money, their marketing money that they spent for something that they can't do anything with. Right? So that's a big win. Like they're like, I can't do anything here anyway. Let me get these back. So, but then I want to take it to the next level with them. I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy the lead. If it happens to be a short sale, not only will I still give you that $30, but I'm going to give you the first opportunity to submit the offer to negotiate with the bank. Right? And this is where, again, it goes down the game plan. Like I always submit investor offers on my short sales, right? First, the banks may say no, may say, whatever. But at least then we get an improved price. We know where we're at. So I'm always able to go out there and leverage with my investor clients and get better deals. Here's the cool thing too. If you have investor clients that then buy the short sale, then go out there and flip it, well, then you get that listing too. So you're able to leverage these. And I'm always thinking, okay, I got to do this deal. how can I take this one deal and turn it into getting paid 3 or 4 times, with that. So that is my main strategy in addition to all the notice defaults. Now I'm going to start hitting, there's always hot pockets of that we see, where we're going to see more foreclosure. I'll be doing some target Facebook ads and things there. But those are my kind of targeted strategies that I'm starting with, right? So that's how I'm going to go after there and get leads. But again, I just want to leverage this, man. I want to figure out, okay, how can we just create win-win scenarios for everybody that's involved? And that's just one epic way to do it. I don't know how this will look. My buddy, who's a top agent, he's racked up over 200 listings in like a matter of 3 or 4 months by doing this. So now he's got a couple hundred listings. It's a couple hundred sign calls for his team, that are out there. Those are open house opportunities, right? Billboards in the area, developing market share in the area. And of course, dude, you're going to close a lot of them. I mean, I've closed, I don't know how many, well over 1,000 short sales. Like they do close. They are successful, man. With that. So like I said, you guys, I'll share with you everything that I'm doing, anything that I create, any marketing materials. I'll keep walking you through my journey for these. Now, if your market's extremely hot right now still, and sellers, market and every property's getting 3 offers in the first day, I'm not saying that you can't go out there and try to attack this stuff, but it may be a little early for you yet. You want to wait till the market really starts to soften, not an extreme buyer's market. We get to that point where it's kind of a neutral market where you're seeing it transition from a seller's market to a neutral market, because then, it's just going to bypass that and go into a buyer's market. And that's where these opportunities are going to be created. Okay. So REO. So REO is, and this is just kind of elementary. Those of you that don't know what REO is, it's just a foreclosure, real estate owned. So like I said, that short sale or there's a default, whatever goes back to the bank. The bank then is going to go out there and list the property, right? And they list them through local real estate agents. So I'm going to go through. I include a couple sites here, a few sites. These are the sites that I'm registering on right now, and that I know have some assets, and it's always different for every area with this. But then I'm not going to tell you just that. I'm going to go another strategy that was very effective, or 2 strategies that were very effective for me in addition to registering on these sites. And then I got to tell you kind of what you need to put on there, because this is the fake it till you make it, right? Like I'm not saying go out there and blatantly lie, but maybe you've never listed an REO property. Maybe you've never had I didn't list an REO property before I got a relationship with a bank. But I'd sold a bunch on the buy side, right? So I'm like, hey, I have a ton of REO experience. I've been selling REOs for a long time, ton of REO experience, right? Like that's not lying, right? I'm not saying, hey, I am a preferred listing agent for XYZ banks, right? I'm not saying that, right? So I'm going to show you kind of when you submit your applications, what they're looking for and kind of how to structure that. Okay. So here's some of those websites. So reonetwork.com. And you guys, you don't need to do like these. REO Network, I think, now has a CRM and stuff. Just get on there. I think there's a small nominal fee to be on there, and whatever. I mean, dude, I picked up so many damn banks from REO Network. It's crazy. With that, I mean, I probably picked up a good 5 or 6 banks just from being on there. Well, it's not just being on there. That's like me saying, oh, well, all my business comes from Zillow. Zillow is great. Well, it's not that Zillow necessarily is probably so great. It's that agent probably jumped on that lead instantaneously and went after it. Like I get reached out to, but I was just glued to my phones, glued to my systems, and I jumped on them, man, and stayed in touch and stayed in touch and stayed in touch. This one here, and what I'll do is I'll copy and paste these for you guys. Because I don't know if these will be transferable the way that they're showing up here. This is for Fannie Mae. So Fannie Mae, of course, is a direct lender, right? They back loans. I mean, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac hold most of the mortgages that exist out there. And Fannie Mae is really the juggernaut. It's the biggest one. Now, I don't know how to get it with Freddie Mac. I've never been able to do it. Freddie Mac only works with the broker. And my last broker, I'm at Remax, had Freddie Mac, like you're supposed to go out, the broker's supposed to get the account and then disperse it to their agents, right? I mean, that's kind of the theory. Well, he got it and just kind of hoarded it from him. So it was cool. I mean, I don't blame the guy. So I was never able to get in there, so I don't even know where to go to get started. But I've been an approved Fannie Mae vendor for years and years and years. So that's the link for that. It's hell to find it. So I dug it up for you guys and put it in there. This VRM Co. So VRM, and that's where you'll go and you just, there's an app right there. You'll see right there an app to register to be a vendor partner. VRM is they hold or service all the VA foreclosures across the whole entire United States. With that. So that's VRM. So if you have a lot of VAs in your area or whatever, VRM has that entire, every VA loan that gets defaulted on goes right to VRM right there. So that could be a great opportunity for you. This NREOB, nationwide REO brokers. That's another one to register on, that I did a lot of business with. Those were kind of like the four biggest banks I did business with. Now, that doesn't mean to say those are going to be the four biggest in the future. I don't know, right? With that, we'll see. Usually history repeats itself, but maybe they smarten up, and there's other banks that made bad decisions. Okay, so some other strategies that I got into REO with. So I'd go to every investor client that I knew, friend, whatever that looks like, dude. I'd go to everyone that was out there buying foreclosures, anybody that I knew, and I'd ask them, "Hey, can I just glance at your HUDs? Like your final closing HUD statement." Because what happens is, title and all these companies get sloppy. Next thing you know, including the paperwork, buried in the paperwork, is the asset manager's direct contact information. And obviously they service your area, and that's probably who you're going to be working with. So then, boom, you just struck gold. Right? So it's not meaning that, okay, I'm going to hit this person up, that they're going to do business with me. Right? Like, okay, nationwide REO brokers here. This was my first bank I ever got in with. So what I did there is I got their information. I applied on their site, I got an information for an asset manager on a HUD. I followed up with that dude. You guys got to understand. So many people are like, "Oh, dude, you got 38 banks and you're doing all stuff, man. You got lucky." And I'm like, man, you can call it whatever. I mean, I just get luckier. The harder I work, the luckier I get, I guess. I grinded my ass off for 6 straight months, 4 hours every single day, locking myself in my office, just grinding, following up with banks, rejection. I mean, I did well over 10,000 dials that I logged onto my, onto my Mojo accounts, right? At that time. With that, so I got rejected by thousands to get 38 to say yes. So to me, it was just the numbers. But I knew if I didn't get in there, as severe as the market crash was, now I don't think the market crash going forward will be as severe. But again, none of us know. I'm talking to agents that have been doing this 30, 40 years, 50 years. They're like, that was 10 times more severe than when the market crashed and interest rates were 21%. Like that was the craziest thing that most people have ever seen. So we'll see. Who knows? With that, right? So, but what I did, man, is I got that information and I'm just following up. So following up every single week at a minimum. These guys got an email, phone call, email and a phone call. So what I would do too, like Friday kind of mid-afternoon, because I figured things are probably dying down from Friday mid-afternoon, where it's probably less busy. I know they're busy as shit Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because all the offers typically come in over the weekends. They're off during the weekends, so they don't start reviewing them until Monday, so they kind of pile up. So I'd message him on Friday, just saying, "Hey, just so Joshua Smith here. Just so you know, I'm working, I'm available, I'm around all weekend. Here's my cell number. Um, I'm not asking you for all of your business. I'm just saying, I'm just asking for a shot. If you have an agent that you can't get a hold of, or an agent that's just not cutting it, your lowest agent, whatever that may be, all I ask is just for one shot, right? If I do not blow your mind, if I do not, help you accomplish your goals and make your life easier and prove to you I'm a valuable asset, strip the asset away from me, reassign it, and you'll never hear from me again. So I just kept that stuff like every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, whatever it was, man. I was blasting those out there, and then eventually it just popped, dude. I don't know how many messages I sent the dude at Nationwide REO Brokers. I mean, but it's probably a good 100. I mean, at least, I just bam, 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 constant call, email, at least one, sometimes two. Sometimes, I get very, obviously I want the business, dude. So, I always side on the caution of way too much follow up. With that, so looking over those HUDs, get that email, but it's not enough to, I sent them an email. No, dude, like you got to bug the living hell out of them. Like I want them to be the point where like, dude, if I don't respond to this kid, like damn, but in those emails, I'm always, hey, hope all is well. Hope you're having an amazing week. Here's who I am. Here's my infrastructure. Here's what we can do for you. Whatever with that. So I wasn't just, please give me properties, right? Is always verbalizing how I can solve their problems. Because asset managers, what do they need to solve their problems? They need to look good to their bosses. How to look good to their bosses? They need a very close list to sales price ratio, right? So they need that. They have to have that. To get a good scorecard. Then they're scored on how many days on the marketplace. So you see so many of these REOs out there, these agents, man, just neglected the properties. They didn't do anything with them. So I'd go to these asset managers like, dude, look, we got a staging company. I didn't have a staging company, but I just pulled out of my ass and figured out and realized it, right? Hey, I'm going to come in there, man. I'm going to treat your properties like it's $1 million luxury property. We're going to get it looking top, pristine. I'm going to come in there and do high def professional photos. We're going to do open house. Like, we're going to go out there and do this. I will get you top dollar. I will get you as close to that list price or whatever it possibly can. Sell it in the quickest amount of time for the top dollar. I will put everything into it. So then what I would do too, before I even had their business, I kept showing them properties, and I'd show them, like, this is kind of cutthroat, but whatever. It's my competition. I would identify who their current brokers are, and I'd be like, look, here's what house I just listed. Look at this house. Look at these professional photos. Look at my marketing. Look at this. Look at what your agent's doing for you. Right? Like how do you, who do you think is going to help you accomplish your goals more? You know that I'm persistent. You know that I'm hungry, right? I mean, just look at this. Just analyze these. And I'm just hounding. And eventually they give you a shot. So looking over HUD statements if you're able to. Buy lists. So you can go out there and just buy lists where, maybe. I wish I would have kept all my asset managers' contact information, but when it was over, I was so glad it was done, dude. I was like, screw this. I'm going to be buying the list. So I bought them before. Go on there, and these agents will compile the list, whatever you buy them for their, $300-400, sometimes $500, and you get all the major banks, all the asset managers, like who's in charge of vendor hiring, all of this stuff. So I'm going to be buying them. I don't know when. Like I said, I got a lot on my plate here in the next couple weeks. But it's definitely going to be soon. Right? No longer than within a month. But when I don't want to get them and just have them sit on my desk forever. So I'm going to go out there and buy them, and I'll just give whatever I have with you guys. I'll scan it, put it in the groups, and then you guys can just take it. So you don't have to go out there and buy it. So I'll have that if I'm able to find them and buy them out there. I'm sure I am. So the application, again, is fake it until you make it. So they want to know that you can handle their assets. Again, it's all the same thing. It's like, hey, how can I solve your problems? Like, what are your goals? What's a win for you? Right. So it's no different than our buyers and sellers. So many people just don't think this way, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to structure my business model. Everything that I do, I don't care if I have to scratch it and start over. I'm going to structure everything to making you look good, to making you hit your goals, get your bonuses, making you look good to your bosses. That's why I exist, right? So I'm going to identify that. That's what they want, right? So in order to accomplish that, they need to know that I can handle their assets. They need to know that I have great systems, that I have financial reserves. Because what happens also, like, you gotta front the utilities. Now, when I first started, I had to do like all the carpet, paint. You guys, I mean, within my first 6 months of landing Fannie Mae, I literally had $250,000 out there and just assets. And I wasn't really prepared for it. I didn't really realize it was going to be that extreme. I mean, I knew I had to front some. I didn't realize it was going to be that extreme. Like, I remember a couple of buddies of mine were going snowboarding, and they're like, hey, Josh, want to come? I'm like, dude, I can't, bro. I'm like, I have no money, dude. And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot, you sell 500 homes a year and you're broke, right? But all my reserves were tied up. I mean, I would have $90,000 of just cash for keys in a 30-day span. It takes Fannie Mae, 6 months to reimburse me. Now they've gotten way better at that. It's not there yet, but things that you still might have to upfront will be utilities, will be maybe getting the weed sprayed or little things like that, right? So those things come up, the rekey, cash for keys, most of them cover now and things like that. So, but I want to let them know, hey, I've got, like, when I was originally reaching out to them, I was just telling them all, hey, I have over 6 figures in a savings account, for plenty of reserves. What do you have? Whatever. Just say, hey, I've got plenty of reserves. I have no problem being able to float you. I mean, they got to know that, because then if they give you a shot and then they're like, oh crap, Like you guys, I've had it before. Like Chase Bank was one of the banks I represented. They had this land, this foreclosure. So it was this like commercial property, this commercial warehouse deal. That I had to go out there with, and there's like this old, it was like this mine. It was like this old abandoned mine area, and all these miners would park all their equipment there. So this like 90-year-old dude that still was a miner there, and like next to the warehouse was a little tiny house where all the miners would stay. Like this is way out in the middle of friggin' nowhere, hour away from my office up in the sticks, right? Like hills have eyes kind of country, right? So I go out there and he starts walking me through the warehouse, give me a tour of it. And he's like, oh yeah, this room in here, man. We don't want to go in this room, man. In the summertime right now with the heat, all the mercury comes up from the ground. So he starts telling me, he's like, what they did for all these years, and he's been on that mine for 60 years, or that area. They were dumping all the chemicals directly into the soil. Right. So my bank's like, all right, dude, well, we got to get a phase 1 and then potentially a phase 2, whatever. So I had to front, $5,000 each test, to be able to do those things. So if I beg them for an asset and then all of a sudden I'm like, dude, I don't have $5,000 to float you. Now that makes them look bad. Right. So I don't want to scare you with this stuff. I mean, if you have 15, 20 grand in the bank, you're probably going to be okay. But you need to make sure that you have something there prepared for, set aside for, or that a way that you can figure out. Somebody you can borrow the money for, or, whatever, if you're there. So I want to let them know I have a team, because it's very difficult to really be efficient with REO without a team. So, hey, I got the infrastructure, I got the support to make sure your goals are met, make sure that nothing slips through the cracks, the experience. So they are busy and will not read a long bio. So short and to the point. I don't know why I was typing this out, and I think I got distracted and forgot to finish that. I'll type it when we get done, but I'll go through what I would say here. So to whom it may concern, if I have their name, I'll put their name or whatever. So I'm just gonna, they're gonna have you put in all of these, like your tax ID number, your broker license number, address, all that stuff. They're gonna have you do all of that. Also with REOs, put the address of the office that you are in. If your designated broker is at a different office, no, you want to, because they'll assign within a radius of where your physical location is. So you want to be able to do that, so that way, all of a sudden, you don't get assignments, 45 miles away from you. So again, they're super busy. So here's what I'm going to do. So to whom it may concern, right? I am 100% committed to doing whatever it takes to helping you accomplish your personal goals. I have years of REO experience, along with distressed property selling experience, along with traditional experience. I've got the systems, the support, the financial resources, and the experience to make sure that we help you accomplish your goals, to make sure that we move your assets in the quickest amount of time at the highest possible dollar amount, with the least amount of stress, least amount of headaches to you, because they're looking at the same thing as any type of a seller, right? With that. So that's what I'm trying to communicate to them, right? That I have the experience, that I have the systems, that I have the resources, to ensure nothing will slip through the cracks, that will get their assets sold at the highest possible price in the shortest amount of time, with that. And so that's all I'm going to do. I know from copywriting, dude, they're not going to read more than 4 sentences, or four lines grouped together. So that's really it, dude. Right? So you got to get out there. I mean, nothing's easy with this stuff. There's no magic formula, other than nobody, like on Fannie Mae, nobody in the hell ever would be able to find that site if they weren't already there. Like it's so buried and so hard on some of these. Some of them are obvious, some aren't. That's where I'd start. That's where I'm starting. That's where I'd recommend that you guys start. Then of course, you got to be prepped for BPOs. So I'd get on Equator. I wouldn't go out there and sign up for any special zip codes or accounts, because people are like, oh dude, well you sign up for these zip codes and then you start getting opportunities to do BPOs and then they give you business. BS. Right? I've done so many damn free BPOs for so long. I never got a lick of business. Now I do free BPOs for the assets that or the companies I work for, if they need me and ask me to do a free BPO, but that's it. But just, again, you guys, like with everything, you got to out hustle, outwork everybody, differentiate yourself from them. Like 1 year Christmas Eve, my asset manager, her name was Linda Tompkins, calls me from Fannie Mae. Christmas Eve, dude, afternoon. She goes, Josh, I have a couple agents that I can't get a hold of. They bailed on me. They're slightly outside your area. We just got flooded with these. I need your help here. She gave me 21 properties on Christmas Eve. So I mean, it's like an epic Christmas present, right? But what had to happen then is on the REOs, you guys got to be prepped for this. You've got to go out there and deliver the foreclosure notice, right? You got to offer. Okay, you got to do the occupancy, the OC check. Then if it's vacant, we rekey it, right? If it's occupied, okay, we got to see if they're home. If not, we got to put a notice on the front door and keep making checks to stop by to see if we can negotiate cash for keys, all of this stuff. So I got me and I got my locksmith out there. And then I had another agent that was helping me with BPOs that I pay like $100 a BPO for that would help me with these. He and I that day, that evening, because you only have like, if it's vacant, you have 72 hours to get and complete the BPO and get in there. Otherwise, it's going to be late. They don't give a shit if it's a holiday. It's going to go against your scorecard and you're going to get less assets. So I threw him, I think I threw him, another $2,000 cash under the table plus the BPO fees that I paid him. Like both of us stayed, called our families. We're like, dude, we got to work till 3 a.m. on Christmas morning. But promise our families that we'd be home to see the kids, for breakfast, see the kids open presents, whatever. And we may have to come back. Luckily, we banged it out. We had a really effective and efficient process with our locksmith and with everybody. With that to do that. And then also think too, okay, how can I delegate this stuff? So like when you have to do a rekey, let's say, the vendor or the banks usually will be like, okay, it's your locksmith. You got to get it rekeyed. You pay them. We reimburse you. So then when I tell my locksmith, okay, dude, you get $100. I got approval for $100 for you to rekey this. So you're going to rekey this. So you got to go to the OC check. If it was occupied and he couldn't rekey it, I paid him $10 an hour plus mileage. So it's a field tech fee. If it was vacant, he would, post the notice, do all the date stamp photos. I trained him on what photos of the property I needed to do my BPO and do a property condition report. And that was all to get paid on that rekey fee. And he was cool because, there's days he's doing, he's making $500-600 a day just for my stuff. So he was happy to do that kind of stuff, right? So leverage, the things that you already have in place. Word of caution in REO, not to scare anybody, but when it comes to these receivables, like you got to be on the accounting, dude. They really prey on you not turning in and submitting invoicing correctly or on time so they don't have to pay you. It's a big profit center for them. So, and they make it almost impossible. Like final utility shut-off notices, like you have to have submitted in there. Like, dude, like if I don't, like the second it records and closes, if I don't call before 5 o'clock that night, there's no way in hell I can get it in time. Sometimes we had to run down the utility company and get a copy of the bill so to submit it in time to get reimbursed for money that we loan them. I can't even tell you how much money. Through that, I made so much money, so it's worth it. But like accredited home lenders, I had over $30,000 out for them. They went BK. I lost all that money. I didn't get it back. And I also didn't get any of those commissions and sales from all those properties I had out there. So that's kind of a risk what we do here when we're playing this game. But most of them go smooth and you just want to keep organized with that. So anyway, guys, I don't want to keep blabbing here. So let me jump into your questions and see what you have here. So Josiah says, you just described my last 12 months perfectly. LOL, learning every day. Yeah, I love it, man. I love it, dude. And here's the thing too, you guys, when we're learning, and I know that this isn't you, Josiah, I know you're an absolute hustler. Learning is critical, right? But I'm not going to do my learning on prime prospecting time. Like I know 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., dude, that's like prime, catching people at home, whatever that may be, that's grind time. I'm going to focus on my mastery, at 3 a.m, at 10 o'clock at night, all those things. So we want to be a student of the game and constantly focused on that. But it's easy. And I've got sucked in that trap too, where I get so diligent on my self-development that then my business starts to differ, or slide downhill, because my self-development's at necessarily the wrong times. Answer this at the end. Do you believe in training your staff? You said that you believe they should train on their own time. Interesting perspective. Sorry, taking a drink of water. Get a little deeper if you can. Okay, so yeah. So and I apologize when I said that. What I guess I was trying to say probably came across wrong. So yes, I train my staff. All my training, anything that we do more than once, and this goes back to the system training, the boot camp, is videoed, is whatever. So like how to input a listing, screencast, how to turn these forms, how to use SureClose, how to anything that they need to do is videoed, so they know how to do it. So yeah, we're gonna sit them down, have them go through the videos. For the first month, I mean, they're right next to my team manager, other TCs. So well, I mean, we're training them to be resourceful too. Okay, here's the tasks that you need. Here's the videos up. So watch the video, pause the video, do the task. We're teaching them to be resourceful. But that whole time, my manager's there and other people are there to answer those questions. So yeah, I mean, we always have training, we always have coaching going on. I have a lot of high level meetings. I'm not a fan of BS waste time meetings. They're all high level strategy, like get shit done and get out and get back to work meetings. So what I'm talking though about, Eric, is as far as training on their own time. Okay, so like let's say I don't give people raises to give them raises. They have to earn a raise. Like I'm not going to give you if you've been with me for 5 years and maybe you're doing the same amount of work, same amount of effort, like you haven't improved in 5 years. I'm not going to pay you more money just because you hit it. Like I'm results based. So I always tell my people. So prime example, Lindsay, my personal assistant. One of the things that she told me when she came on and hired me, because she took a big pay cut to come to me from her last company. But she just saw the growth and wanted to be here, right? So I'm like, dude, I'm not going to pay you more money. What I can promise you though is if you continue to prove yourself, I will show you how you can become more valuable to me, right? And I'll work with her, and I'll show them whatever. But so much of that comes in on her own time. Like I need you doing your job here. Like we can't take away these 8 hours that we have here to learn this new task. Do your job here. If you are truly focused on creating more opportunities for you and your family, I then want you to master this new strategy or method or whatever. I need her next really learning. We're going to really get her dialed in on Infusionsoft funnels and Facebook ads, and starting to take that stuff off my plate because it's something I'm spending hours a day on right now, and I need to get off my plate, right? So once she does that, dude, she's going to get a big bump in pay, like a big bump, right? But I'm not going to have her on my dime spend all day long learning that stuff. She's here on my dime to do a job, right? If she wants to increase her opportunities, she's got to do that she got to you work on your job while you're in the office, right? This is my philosophy with this. My employees, when they're in these doors, they're doing their job. When they're working on growing their career, that needs to happen at home, right? They got to be committed, dude. With that, now I'm going to be very, very upfront with, hey, here's what I need you to do. If you want another opportunity, just like I told my film editor too, I'm like, dude, you want to make some more bank, man? Go master WordPress. Like it's a freaking mess. I've spent so many thousands of dollars with just pissing away for this. I'm like, you go master that, dude, and I'll give you a bump to this. Now, I mean, has he done it? I don't know. I mean, I'm not, whatever. He's got to do that on his own time. I don't know what he's doing there with it. With that, it's not my job to create jobs. It's my job to create opportunities. It's up to them to earn those jobs every single day, right? With that. So that hopefully that makes sense. Ryan says, "Oh yeah, stoked, man. I love short sales. Yeah, dude, they're golden." Ryan says, "Great stuff, bro. You got me so excited. Awesome, man. I'm excited, dude. I'm literally, man, no sleep, dude, for like almost 2 days straight, man. And yeah, dude, that's what I love about this business, man. I just did so many opportunities. Now, I don't love, and I've never really loved working with each buyer and seller. Not that I didn't enjoy it, not that I hated or despised it. I didn't really love that. What I love so much about this industry, and I've been involved in a lot of business, and I see a lot of businesses out there. I've never seen an industry in my lifetime, in anywhere where you can go out there for little to no money and create massive opportunities, change your life around, be a nobody, and then become an absolute rock star in 6 months, making more money than doctors and attorneys if you're committed. Dude, that's why I get goosebumps about this shit. Because what else can you do that? It doesn't exist, right? Kyle says, Josh, thanks for everything. Loving the material. I just want to get my question in. What do you do when a buyer wants to see like 15 homes in one day or weekend? What questions do you ask to narrow that down? Also, when you meet a buyer in person, aside from finding out what they want or need, what do you say or ask to sell them on you. Okay, so Kyle, you really, dude, and I know, not that I'm not going to answer your question here, but you really need to go back and rewatch week 4. That is the buyer consultation, right? Because that goes in from the, selling value, or finding out what their needs are, what their timeframes are, what that looks like, to educating them on the process, where your monetary investment is, where you're at risk, selling the value heavily on us, right? Here's what's going to happen if you don't meet these time frames. But don't stress about that, because that's why we're like, go back through that. That leads into the commitment form. The commitment form then shows everything that you've been working your ass off for them, and show them, hey, I'm free for you. All I ask for back is your commitment. Not saying that you have to buy a house, but if you choose to, you're committed to utilizing me as your real estate agent. Here's the form that we use for that commitment, and then have them sign that, right? So that's how I'm going to go in that. So go back and watch week 4, dude. If you do that, I've yet to meet any boot camp member or any of my teammates that have dialed that in, that have mastered that aren't converting 90% or more of those buyer consultations. So okay, somebody wants to see 15 homes, dude. I wished I could sit there and say I've never showed 15 homes. I have. I've showed 50 homes, right? So I'm going to lead the process with, hey, after the buyer consultation, we talk about this thing in week 4. Hey, we're going to look at 8 homes. We're going to spend a lot of time in front of the computer. We're going to narrow it down to your top 8 homes. The reason 8 is I have found over the years of doing this that if we see more than 8 in one day, man, they all start blending together. It becomes, very overwhelming. So what we want to do is we're going to spend a lot of time in front of the computer. We're going to go based off of your dream home form, what your wants are, what your needs are, and we're going to pick the best 8 max, can be less than 8, homes that meet that criteria. So if they sent me 15, I'm not going to, if they're pre-qualified, if they're committed to me, I'll go show them 15. Now, I would first, though, ask them to send me those over. And of course, I'm calling all the real estate agents. I'm going to go through all the photos. I'm going to QC that. Based on what their dream home form is, because so often, dude, it's such an emotional process that they forget shit. Like they'll be like, tell me like, oh well, it's really important to us that we either have a pool in the house or we have a backyard big enough to put in a pool. Well, then they might see a house that's like just remodeled and so gorgeous, whatever. But then I look at the dimensions of the backyard. I'm like, look, dude, there's no pool, and there's no way in hell of ever getting a pool. Are you sure that that's what you want? So sometimes, a lot of times we're able to narrow that down, and they don't meet those, and anyway. But the reality is, dude, sometimes you got to go out and show 15 homes. But the most important thing is make sure they're pre-qualified. I'm not going to show 15 homes if they're not pre-qualified. If they're not committed to me, I'm not showing 15 homes. I'm going to make sure that they sign the buyer employment agreement with me. With that, I'm going to make sure I've asked those engaging questions like we talked about in week 4. Hey, in a perfect world, if we could time this out perfectly, what would move-in date be? What would that look like? Right? I want to make sure that those line up, so it's not like, oh, well, like 7 months. Well, I'm not going to show you 15 homes today. Pick your top 2, right? And then we'll start looking in 5 months, right? So just go deeper with them if you're able to. Josiah said, when buying leads from an investor, how do you make sure that it's actually a good lead? I would hate to spend $30 a lead, a few hundred. So I get you, bro. You're going to have to test the waters, right? So here's the cool thing is you always reserve the right to change your mind. And I think it's important for us to understand and note, dude, like some people are like, oh, you got to honor your word. Yeah, dude. Like if I said I'm going to do something, I'm going to do everything I can to honor it. However, if I said I was going to do something and then I realized that was a massive mistake and is going to put my business or my family or myself or my opportunities in a bad situation, well, you damn right I reserve the right to change my mind. Right? So if they give me, let's say I buy 3 leads, I'm going to know right away. Dude, they send me 3 leads. I give them $90, whatever, that first day. I'm calling those. Boom, I'm going to know if they're solid. Right? Or shit. And then if I got to back out from it or renegotiate or whatever it may be, you got to take a little risk with it. But I think that's it, right? I mean, the cool thing too is, so my whole thing is going to be, okay, hey, like you got this property, you got this lead, why didn't they meet your standards? Like what, because if they're like, okay, it's 123 West Main Street, Josiah Murdaugh, 123 West Main Street, 623, spoke to him. Our offer was 142. they that doesn't work for them. They want something more like 180 to make it worthwhile to sell. Whatever. So okay, now I know. Like they had a conversation with them. They dequalified them or disqualified them. I'm going to want some type of a documentation of that. Now, could somebody fake that? Sure. There's a lot of shady people out there, but they're going to get caught out really quickly. The only time you really get stuck, dude, is when we're not paying attention. When REO listings, what's the biggest upfront cost? I assume you have to buy a lot of lock boxes. Yeah, yeah, lock boxes, signs, whatever. And here's the thing, dude, is I don't know what's going to come. We don't, but I know from my experience, you become a victim of your success pretty quickly. Right? I mean, that was me, dude. Like the asset managers, I got a very good reputation because, dude, I just went above and beyond. I saw what these other, these other agents were doing. Like, I just went out there and slayed, went above and beyond, did everything I possibly could to just deliver the best experience these asset managers ever had. Well, I became very quickly a victim of my own success, going from 2 assignments a week to 20 a week. Right? So yeah, then it was lockboxes, dude. And it wasn't just one lockbox. I'd have an MLS lockbox and a contractor's box, plus a sign, plus special sign writers, plus I had to, pay for the rekey. I mean, there's all those things, with that. However, dude, don't stress about it though. Right? So you can, you get the business, you can always figure it out. Because if you're like, dude, I'm out of money. Well, shit, dude. You come to me, bro. I'll be like, hey, man, I'll fund it. I'll work with you on it. I'll fund it, Josiah, and we'll work this together, dude. We'll split the account. Makes it where you're not losing the account. I'll float the money. I'll do that for any of you guys, right? Well, if like 200 of you hit me up, I might not be able to. But what I'm saying is, it's just like with investment properties, dude. Like one of my really good buddies owns 37 free and clear properties right now, and he didn't pay a penny for any of them. Right? He went out there and found the deals. He found an amazing package. He negotiated this amazing package. He then found the deal with the money. And it was like, hey man, I got this. This package, like this is a steal. Like this is the steal of the century. You're not going to see this again. I want 50% of it. I found the deal. You fund it. You got the cash. I found the deal. We're 50-50 partners, but I will also manage the rentals, right? So we keep our costs, so I'll manage them. Dude's like, hell yeah, let's do it. Right? So you go out there, you create it, and then then people will always jump in and get involved, dude. Like there's always a way. Those are good problems. Having no properties is a bad problem. Having too many properties is a good problem. You just got to know who to go to. So if that happens, dude, reach out to me. And I'm not even meaning that like, hey, you got to partner with me, but that's where it's like, hey, let's put our heads together and figure out some strategies of how you can do this. I heard about a lot of mastermind summits that happened during the last recession that were set up to introduce agents to managers. Yeah, not only did I go to them, I used to speak at them, dude. I was always asked to be a speaker. Total BS. That's how they sell money, like REO Network or not REO Network. 5-star bunch. I can't remember all the names of them, dude. It's a scam, bro. It's just like, oh man, it's just like the Tom Ferry Summit. You go pay $1,000 ticket, and then they try to upsell you to $20,000 a train the whole damn time. It's a scam, bro. And like I said, I know maybe in the very beginning, asset managers were there. But it gets to a point, dude, where they can't be there, and the banks aren't allowing them to be there, and whatever. It's just a bunch of BS, man. But yeah, I used to speak at a lot of them and go there and I get asked to come and speak and then train other agents. Okay, hey, if you get these, like Fannie Mae, for example, would reach out to me, in my local whatever, and they'd be like, hey, do you mind doing some training for these agents and whatever, because you're doing so good at this. So I'd get asked to actually go there and speak at them. None of my asset managers were ever there, dude. Because then too, man, we know how realtors are. Like realtors are like crazy, bro. Like they would have to be like escorted by security. Like everybody would be gnarly with that. Josh, I have to leave for an appointment. Should I leave the question now? Yeah, Arnie. Well, you already probably got on the appointment, dude. But just post it in the group or hit me up later, dude. We'll make sure all questions get answered. To get signed up with Wells Fargo for REOs, you have to have a local Wells Fargo home mortgage sales manager identity. Okay, yeah, I've never been in there, Doris. I know that at least in my area, Wells Fargo, I think the company was PAS, but I was never in with Wells. I was in with Chase. I was in with Fannie Mae. I was in, a lot of these little other servicing companies. Um, when would you call them? During the 90s or during the 60s? Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's 90s, man. That's all the hardcore 90s, Arnie. So, that, I mean, I'm guessing you're talking about the asset managers. So I'm going to call them during the 90s. 15% of your market is REO, 3% short. Yeah, start attacking them, dude. I mean, you're perfect. Yeah, and here's what's going on, Arnie, too. Like, I know I've talked with you a lot about your area. You're in a prime area for it because your area was booming for so long. It's going to be coming down. I mean, if you're 15% REOs, I mean, there's already some signs of it coming down. What goes up must come down, dude. And history just repeats itself. Just go pull the MLS, go into the MLS if you can, if I go back this far, and look at the last like 30 years of trends of what the market's done. And there's always these patterns, and then people forget pain. The banks forgot the pain that they went through. So then now guess what they're doing? Right? They're doing 100% loan programs again and all this crap. So, so calling the asset managers, dude, would be during the 90s. There are a couple agents that have accounts, and it looks like they're getting about 100 listings a year in and around Minneapolis. What is the best way to get those accounts or different accounts in that same city? Yeah, dude. So again, differentiate yourself. I told you what I did, man. I'm like the guys out in my area were all snapping crappy pictures with their cell phones, where they suck. It was just junk, dude. I go to someone, they have green pools. I'd snap a picture of that. Like, hey, here's a picture of this pool. Look at what my pools look like. Look, man, I'm your guy, right? Look what you have going on right here. Look who I am. I'm your dude, man. You're just convincing them, man. And yeah, is it kind of, I don't know, I'm throwing the other agent in the bus, I guess, but they're doing a shitty job. I don't, it is what it is, man. If they're doing a shitty job, they're my competition. It's like if Dell is building a crappy machine, Apple's probably going to trash it, right? Whatever that may be, with that. So, you can see if you can differentiate yourself, with that, and then just kind of hit as many banks as you possibly can, that are in there. It's just that percent. Because here's the thing, Arnie. Most people will drop the ball at some point, right? You got to learn to be okay with being number two. You follow up, you follow up, you follow up. If and when they drop the ball, boom, you're in. You got that relationship. They know your name. They know that you're the guy. They know that you're persistent. They know that you work your ass off, right? You become that guy. Who do I need to hire to help me get the REOs? What kind of support will I need? Well, Arnie, get the business first. Don't hire anybody. You get the business first. Then when you get the business, first of all, dude, when you get your first few deals, like I recommend you do everything yourself, right? Because it's a different world, bro. So you need to do it all yourself. So you know how it needs to be done, how you're able to please your asset manager. Because what you end up doing is you end up building your own playbooks for each asset manager. Every asset manager likes things done differently. Okay, so I need to know what they want done. I'm always asking them, because again, dude, I'm very serious about this. So I ask them, hey, what do I need to do here? What exactly must happen, especially when I'm new to it with them? What exactly must happen to make this a win for you? Like, dude, I want to make this a win. I want to make you look good. I'll do whatever it takes, man. I will go out there and do anything I have to do, to make this a win for you. You gave me a shot. I'm not going to let you down. What must happen? And I'm going to get clarity on that, right? So sometimes it's their BPO. Like sometimes it's not even a list to sales price ratio. Some of these banks are like, hey, it's based on your initial BPO and sales price ratio. So get really good and accurate at BPOs. So then what would I do there? Well, shit, dude, I'd probably start going to appraisal classes. I'm not going to get a license, become a licensed appraiser, but I want to be as knowledgeable as appraiser so then I can do the BPOs and make sure that I'm dialing in those in there so that we don't have those, whatever that looks like, dude. But you need to know the process first. So I did probably my first 30 REOs, before I started bringing on people. And then again, it's okay, like, what's the lowest, whatever that can hire out. Okay, I could hire out repairs. I could eventually I started hiring out The BPOs, just all day long did BPOs, but then from there, you always have to have those QC processes. Like, dude, if you screw up and you send it to an asset manager, you're going to get guillotined. It's just how it goes. They're under so much pressure, and it's just a human, and you're a human punching bag. They're a human punching bag. It's how it goes. So you got to set up processes. Like, we had 3 people QCing everything before it got sent to a file. Like, an assistant did it, then it went to my manager, and then it went to me, and then I sent it to my asset man. Like, we just QC the hell out of everything. But dude, you first need to learn the processes before you can train them effectively. But get the business first, right? Don't put the cart before the horse. Did you hire a VA to do the REO contact? No, hell no. No, man, I VAs, man. I don't do VAs, dude. I don't. Especially not for REO, dude. Your asset managers want you. And that's the hard part about it too. You guys got to understand this. Like, if you're going to go deep, the relationship with your asset manager is not going to be able to be delegated. If you do, you're probably going to lose that account. They want to deal with you. They want to talk to you. When the phone rings, they want you answering the phone. Now, I over time started delegating this stuff, but guess what? I started losing accounts too. So you just got to understand that and know that with that. So no, I'm not looking to hire any VAs. Everybody, especially in REO, because you can't risk a mistake. And to be honest with you guys, there's no reason for a mistake. And even on my traditional deals, I always tell my support staff, dude, there is absolutely no reason for a mistake. If you're selling t-shirts at the mall, or you're printing my GSD shirts, my printer makes a mistake. Okay, shit, I can tolerate a mistake there. If one of our clients is buying a $400,000 home and we screw up on something, that's unacceptable. Right? So what you do is, man, you just have QC processes. So like in my team right now, my support staff, my transaction coordinators have to fill out daily forms, right? And then my team manager who oversees them every single day, she goes in and QCs those forms, QCs that. So she spends 15 minutes making sure that they're doing what they're doing and nothing's slipping into the cracks. So it's just always that QC. When do you think the market will be headed toward a full-blown art? Like I said, Omar, man, I wished I knew, dude. I have no idea. My best guess is 2 years, maybe. But then you got areas that's so tough, man, because you got areas like Seattle and like Austin, Texas, that, man, I don't know. I mean, could they be recession proof? Unless it's really severe. I don't know. But yeah, I see it for most areas, most metro areas, happening within the next couple of years. But dude, I don't know. To me, whether it's a year, whether it's 4 years, I don't know. I'm just going to be ready. Like, I just know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be prepped. I'm just paying attention, and I'm going to be ready, and you'll be good to go. Our E&O insurance specifically precludes us from participating in evictions, cash for keys, and trash outs. Is there a way around this? Yeah. So you have to go to your E&O, and you're going to have to negotiate a special policy. I've had to do that too. I had to do that with I sold a really big multi-unit high-end apartment building at one point, and I had to go. Our E&O policy didn't include that, right? Precluded that, just like yours does that. I had to buy an additional special policy with that. So, here's the deal. They're either going to allow you to buy a policy, figure out an exception, or you got to figure out another option if you get into REO and short sale, but. If I have dude, if you have, let's say you get in with Fannie Mae, I don't know what the totals were from each bank, but Fannie Mae, you guys, has made me millions, not just from the business that I did with them. Maybe it was probably a $600,000 net a year account, right? And they were big for a few years. So when I say I made millions off of them, all this stuff, so like all those listings, right? You got those sign calls, you got these other opportunities. Well, then guess what? All those properties sell. I'm able to do that, adopt a buyer. So right now, so much of my listing business right now is from all those REOs I sold. I adopted them. Remember, I adopt a buyer business, my adopt a buyer strategy. So they're calling me up, hey, Josh, sold this house 7 years ago, ready to go sell. My business is still profiting massively off of that REO. So if you get the account and it's a promising account, they got to figure it out, or you got to bail and figure out another option. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure, like I said, I've had to do it on case by case scenarios that was out of the scope of our E&O, and I just had to pay extra money. So they're just like, okay, well, you just got to pay a separate policy, and that might be, $40 more per deal, or whatever it may be. Eric says, Toy, appreciate you got it. My brother Josiah says, will do, bro. Thanks. You got it. I will shoot you an email. I got to get to an appointment. Thank you for all you do, bro. You're awesome. Aloha. You got it, Ryan. Appreciate that, man. How do you find the best deals on income property? It gets confusing with the performas, caps, da 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 da. Yeah, it is, dude. I'm not paying attention to their caps, right? Everybody calculates them differently, right? Like to me, it's like, let's say I'm going to go out there and buy a fourplex. Okay, let's say I get the fourplex for $200,000. I go out there, I got to put my 30% down. So what's that? 60 grand. Yeah, 60 grand down. So now I have a loan of 140 grand. Whatever my interest rate is, a little higher multi-units. So, let's say I'm able to get $500 a door for rent, so $2,000 a month in rent, and then my monthly payment, my expenses, and my total overhead, let's say, is $1,600. So that's now cash flowing me $400 a month. So I'm gonna go based on my numbers, not based on their numbers, dude, because there's no guarantee they're accurate. With that, so. Quick way to do it though is just, okay, what are the rents? What's the purchase price? Divide that out and see what your investors want. I have investors that like, hey man, I'll buy anything multi-unit that you get me, that I get a net 10% cap. Right? So I mean, that's pretty easy to go out there and do. It's like, okay, $1 million property, they better bring in 10 million or 10,000 a month in rents, right? Or whatever. That's not quite right, but you get what I'm saying with that. So don't go so much off of them. I would just do your own math with it. Oh, so Ashley, you said not for phones, just inputting. No, again, man, I don't really hire VAs for anything. Never really have. Not a fan of them. And that could be wrong. I don't know. I just, dude, I like people being in my office, man. I like the culture of it. I like to see what they're doing. I want to provide amazing service to my client, whatever. So I'm not saying it's bad or good. It just is something that I've never done, and I have no intention of ever doing, man. I want them here. Like everybody in my office is here. We grind. We do all this. We make sure that experience is good for them and for us and for our clients and whatever. So I've never really gotten into the VA thing. I mean, I've tried it for like lead follow up. But every single one I've fired pretty much instantaneously, and made the decision that even right now I'm interviewing some ISAs. Dude, it's not going to be a VA. It's going to be a dude that is in my office that I can see him dialing every single day. I can see his hustles. I can see you can't bullshit me, right? Like I'm gonna be able to see this. I got Chris Marks right now working for me. I'm now on GSD. And he drives out I make him commute from San Diego every single week to work here, and then goes back on the weekends. At least until we can build this up and figure this out elsewhere, and I'm comfortable in being virtual. But dude, at the end of the day, I go in there, I look at his I look at the Mojo reports, I look at his numbers. You can't hide that stuff. I'm able to hear him on the phone, what he's saying, how he's saying it. Dude, I like that. And when it comes to support staff, we're not talking high level employees. You can go get some talented people for, starting off $15 an hour and maybe cap them at $18, whatever that looks like. Which, okay, yeah, I could go get a $4 VA in the Philippines, but you get what you pay for with that stuff too. That's just my personal. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I know so many people that do it all. That's just it's not right for me personally. So, input on the application, since it's a lengthy process. I did it back in 2009. Resubmit. Would you start back with REO before it dips? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, get those apps in now, dude. I want to get the relationship, whatever I possibly can right now. Because here's the thing, man. Everybody, once it dips, everybody sees it. Then that's when everybody jumps on the bandwagon. I want to be ahead of everybody else. So I'm gonna start putting that stuff out there now, putting the feelers out there now. So, all right, dudes. Well, that's all the questions that we have. If anything didn't get answered, I know Arnie had a few more questions, but I had a jam for an appointment. I'll be in the group later tonight. I'm going to get this recorded, uploaded. I'll get you guys the slide deck, all that good stuff. Probably have that to you in about an hour. If there's anything you guys need, like I always say, man, I'm here to serve, support, help out any way I possibly can. I don't know what I don't know. So make sure that you're reaching out to me. If there's anything I can do to help serve, support, like I said, you guys hit me up anytime. Keep rocking and have a great day. And we'll talk to you guys soon.